As we age, the idea of spending our later years surrounded by family seems comforting, even ideal. It's natural to think that being close to our children will offer a sense of security, companionship, and support. After all, they've been the focus of our lives for so long. Why not let that connection continue as we grow older? However, what if that very closeness, that instinct to remain near them, could become more of a burden than a blessing? What if the longing for proximity to our children could rob us of the most precious things Stoicism teaches us: inner peace and self-reliance? Aging comes with its own set of challenges, but one of the greatest lessons we can learn is that true peace lies within. No one can give us peace if we haven't already found it in ourselves. Depending on others, especially family, might sound reassuring, but with dependence often comes expectations, disappointments, and ultimately a loss of personal freedom. Stoicism, a philosophy that has guided many for centuries, tells us that true freedom comes from letting go of the need for others to complete our happiness. In this sense, growing older is not about clinging to what we've built in others, but rather about finding fulfillment within ourselves. Stoic wisdom urges us to release the weight of expectations, especially from those we love most, our children. In doing so, we open ourselves to a life of dignity and serenity, unburdened by the fears and anxieties that can come from relying too much on family. One of the hardest truths to confront is that aging is a solitary journey, no matter how much we might want to believe otherwise. Of course, relationships with our children can bring moments of joy, but they are also fraught with the complexities of human emotions, misunderstandings, and inevitable differences in how life should be lived. When we place our emotional well-being on their shoulders, we unknowingly burden them and set ourselves up for frustration when reality doesn't match our expectations. Stoicism teaches us to accept life as it is, not as we wish it to be. Our children have their own lives, their own families, their own paths to follow. Clinging to them, whether out of fear, loneliness, or a sense of obligation, can lead to disappointment when they are unable or unwilling to meet the expectations we may not even realize we are setting. And as much as we might wish for our children to care for us in the same way we once cared for them, the truth is, they are not responsible for our happiness, just as we are not responsible for theirs. Letting go of the need to be close to our children, both physically and emotionally, is not about detachment in the cold, unfeeling sense. Rather, it is about freeing ourselves from the chains of dependency. It's about giving our children the freedom to live their lives without feeling obligated to us, and giving ourselves the freedom to live without relying on them for our well-being. By doing this, we foster healthier, more genuine relationships where love is given freely, not out of duty. Many of us fear loneliness as we age. The idea of being far from our children may provoke a deep sense of anxiety, but the Stoics would ask, is this fear rooted in reality, or is it a product of our attachment to ideas of what family should be? The truth is, loneliness comes from within, not from the absence of others. A person can feel lonely in a room full of people if they haven't learned to be content in their own company. Likewise, a person who has cultivated inner peace and self-reliance can feel at home, even in solitude. To embrace aging with the wisdom of Stoicism is to recognize that we cannot control the actions, decisions, or proximity of others. Our children will live their lives in the way they see fit, just as we did when we were their age. Holding on too tightly, insisting on being close, or expecting them to provide us with companionship and care may inadvertently push them away. Worse still, it can rob us of the independence and dignity that are essential to aging gracefully. There is great strength in standing on our own, even in our later years. The more we practice self-reliance, the less we will need to depend on others for our sense of worth or happiness. Stoicism teaches us that true contentment comes from within, from aligning our expectations with reality, and from accepting that the only person we can truly control is ourselves. As we enter the later stages of life, we have the opportunity to apply these teachings more than ever. We can choose to release the expectations we've placed on our children, allowing them to live their lives without the pressure of meeting our needs. In doing so, we free ourselves to live our own lives fully, without resentment, disappointment, or the suffocating weight of dependence. This is not to say that we should cut ties with our children or push them away. On the contrary, Stoicism encourages us to love deeply and fully, but without attachment. To love without expecting anything in return, and to find joy in the moments we share with our children, without clinging to the idea that they must be near us to make our lives complete. By practicing this kind of love, we cultivate relationships that are based on mutual respect and understanding, rather than obligation and guilt. In fact, living apart from our children, whether geographically or emotionally, can strengthen our relationships with them. When we are no longer dependent on them for our happiness, we can engage with them more freely, without the underlying tension of unspoken expectations. Our interactions become more meaningful because they are no longer clouded by the fear of loss or the need for validation. Aging with Stoic wisdom means understanding that our children are not responsible for our peace of mind. We are. And that peace of mind doesn't come from proximity to others, but from a deep sense of self-sufficiency and acceptance of the natural course of life. So, rather than clinging to the familiar notion that closeness to our children will provide comfort in our old age, Stoicism offers us a different path. A path where independence, self-reliance, and emotional freedom are the keys to a life well lived, regardless of where our children reside. It's about embracing the reality that our happiness in the end is our responsibility, and that true contentment comes from letting go, not holding on. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that aging is not something to fear or resist, but a phase of life to embrace with dignity, strength, and wisdom. We can honor our relationships with our children by giving them the freedom to live their lives while giving ourselves the gift of self-reliance. By doing so, we secure not only our own peace of mind, but also the health and longevity of the relationships we hold dear. Because when we let go of the need to be close, we often find that we become closer in ways that truly matter. Aging is inevitable, but how we age is something we can control. In a world that often glorifies youth and overlooks the wisdom of experience, there's a quiet strength in embracing the later stages of life with grace and independence. Stoicism offers a profound perspective on aging that centers not on what we lose with time, but on the wisdom and self-reliance we gain. When we choose to age with intention, rooted in the values of independence and self-sufficiency, we discover that true freedom lies in our ability to rely on ourselves. The Stoic view of aging begins with the acceptance that we cannot control the passing of time, but we can control how we respond to it. Instead of fearing the loss of physical abilities or societal roles, Stoicism teaches us to see aging as an opportunity to cultivate inner strength. This shift in mindset changes everything. It allows us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, our actions, and our reactions, rather than getting lost in the fear of what we might lose. Embracing independence doesn't mean rejecting the help of others, but it does mean understanding that our well-being ultimately depends on our own mindset. As we grow older, there is a tendency to seek comfort in the familiar, especially in the presence of family. However, Stoicism encourages us to be cautious about leaning too heavily on others, particularly on our children. The more we depend on others, the more we risk losing the very thing that keeps us strong, our sense of self-reliance. Stoics believe that true freedom comes from within, from the ability to stand on our own, even in the face of challenges. This isn't about isolation or distancing oneself from family, but about maintaining the ability to navigate life with personal strength and dignity. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is the practice of focusing only on what we can control. In old age, we often grapple with the decline of physical strength or health. Yet, even in the face of these inevitable changes, we have control over how we face them. Aging with independence means accepting the physical limitations of the body while cultivating the resilience of the mind. Stoics remind us that the body may weaken, but the mind can remain sharp and steadfast. By prioritizing mental clarity, we ensure that our sense of independence remains intact, regardless of the physical changes we endure. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of simplicity, especially as we age. As the years pass, life's distractions fall away, and we're left with what truly matters. In this simplicity, we find the freedom to live on our own terms, free from the pressures of society or the expectations of others. The more we strip away the unnecessary, the more space we create for what truly matters: inner peace, contentment, and the quiet strength that comes from self-reliance. Embracing independence in old age also means cultivating a mindset of gratitude. Gratitude for the ability to navigate life with wisdom, gratitude for the clarity that comes with experience, and gratitude for the freedom to live life on our own terms. When we focus on what we have, rather than what we may lose, we open ourselves to a deeper appreciation of life. This gratitude, a key component of Stoic philosophy, allows us to age with grace and dignity, unburdened by the fear of dependence or loss. As we move through life, there are many moments where we might feel the pull of regret. Perhaps we didn't achieve all we wanted, or we made choices that led to unexpected consequences. Stoicism teaches us that dwelling on the past only holds us back. The key to aging well is to accept our past as part of the journey and to use the lessons learned as fuel for greater independence moving forward. Regret is not a chain to hold us down. It is an opportunity to grow, to forgive ourselves, and to move forward with clarity. Stoics also speak to the importance of emotional resilience in the aging process. As we get older, we may face the loss of loved ones or the distance that naturally occurs between family members as their lives evolve. Rather than seeing these experiences as something to fear, Stoicism urges us to view them as part of life's natural order. Detaching ourselves from the need for constant connection or affirmation allows us to cultivate a sense of peace that is not dependent on others. This emotional strength is the cornerstone of self-reliance. Aging gracefully doesn't mean avoiding the inevitable difficulties that come with it. Instead, it means facing them with courage and resilience. Stoicism teaches us to meet adversity head-on, knowing that each challenge is an opportunity to strengthen our character. The more we practice self-reliance, the more equipped we are to face life's difficulties without falling into despair or helplessness. We become less reliant on external circumstances for our happiness and more focused on the inner stability we cultivate through Stoic practice. In many ways, the Stoic approach to aging is about embracing solitude. This doesn't mean isolating ourselves, but rather learning to be content in our own company. As we age, the distractions of youth fade, and we are left with more time to reflect on who we are and what we've learned. Solitude becomes a gift, a time for deep self-reflection and growth. In these moments, we can nurture our independence, allowing ourselves the space to grow mentally and spiritually without the need for constant companionship. The fear of becoming a burden is something that often plagues those entering their later years. Stoicism offers an antidote to this fear by reminding us that we are only burdens when we allow ourselves to become overly reliant on others. Aging with self-reliance means taking responsibility for our own well-being, making decisions that support our independence, and accepting help when necessary, but never expecting it as a given. This balance allows us to maintain our dignity and our autonomy. Stoics often speak of the importance of detachment, not as a way to disconnect from life, but as a means of freeing ourselves from unnecessary suffering. In aging, detachment means releasing the expectations we place on others, especially our children. It means understanding that while we may love them deeply, their lives are their own to live. By detaching from the need to be close to them, both physically and emotionally, we give ourselves the freedom to age without resentment or disappointment. A key element of Stoic independence is the ability to find contentment in the present moment. Aging often brings a tendency to look back on the past with longing or to worry about the future. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on the here and now. In doing so, we free ourselves from the mental and emotional chains that can make aging feel like a loss rather than a gain. The present moment, when embraced fully, offers the opportunity for growth, peace, and fulfillment, no matter our age. Aging with Stoicism also means embracing our mortality. The Stoics believed that contemplating death was essential to living a good life. Far from being morbid, this reflection on death allows us to live more fully in the time we have. By accepting the impermanence of life, we let go of the fear that often accompanies aging. Instead, we focus on making the most of each day, living with intention and purpose, and embracing the independence that comes with knowing we have control over our own lives. Living independently in old age also means making decisions that align with our values. Whether it's choosing where to live, how to spend our time, or who to spend it with, Stoicism encourages us to live authentically. This authenticity, rooted in self-reliance, allows us to live on our own terms without being swayed by the expectations of others. It is through this practice of living true to ourselves that we find the greatest peace and fulfillment. The practice of mindfulness, so central to Stoicism, plays a crucial role in embracing independence. Mindfulness teaches us to be fully aware of our thoughts and actions, helping us to navigate aging with intention. By staying present and mindful, we can make choices that support our independence, whether it's taking care of our health, engaging in meaningful activities, or nurturing relationships that bring us joy. Mindfulness keeps us grounded in the present and frees us from the distractions that can lead to dependence. Stoicism also teaches us the value of resilience. As we age, there will inevitably be moments of hardship, whether physical, emotional, or mental. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from these challenges, to find strength in adversity. By cultivating resilience through Stoic practices such as meditation, self-reflection, and detachment, we become better equipped to face the difficulties of aging with grace and strength. Aging with independence means maintaining a sense of purpose. Even in our later years, we can find meaning in life. Whether it's through hobbies, intellectual pursuits, or helping others, having a sense of purpose keeps us mentally and emotionally engaged. Stoicism teaches that purpose is not something external, but something we create within ourselves. It is this inner sense of purpose that drives us forward, even as the external world changes. Independence in aging also involves embracing change. The Stoics remind us that life is constantly in flux, and resisting change only brings suffering. As we age, our bodies, relationships, and circumstances will inevitably change. By accepting this truth, we free ourselves from the anxiety that often accompanies aging. Embracing change with an open heart allows us to adapt and continue growing, even in our later years. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate a strong sense of personal responsibility. This is especially important as we age. Taking responsibility for our own well-being, whether through physical health, mental clarity, or emotional resilience, ensures that we maintain our independence. Personal responsibility means making choices that support our autonomy, rather than relying on others to make decisions for us. The Stoic emphasis on self-discipline also plays a vital role in aging with independence. Self-discipline allows us to maintain healthy habits, stay mentally sharp, and manage our emotions. It is through self-discipline that we build the foundation for a life of independence, even as we grow older. By practicing self-discipline, we ensure that we remain in control of our lives, no matter what challenges arise. In Stoicism, there is a deep respect for the natural order of life. Aging is part of this order, and resisting it only leads to frustration. By accepting the natural course of life, we can age with dignity and grace. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up. Rather, it means embracing the opportunities that come with each stage of life. Stoicism teaches us to find beauty in every moment, even as we age, and to embrace the wisdom that comes with time. Independence in old age is not about cutting ourselves off from the world, but about maintaining the ability to engage with it on our own terms. Stoicism teaches us that we are never truly alone, as long as we have our own minds to rely on. Aging with independence means staying connected to the world, but in a way that honors our autonomy and self-reliance. It is through this balance of connection and independence that we find true freedom. The Stoic approach to aging reminds us that we are always in control of our responses to life. No matter what challenges arise, we have the power to choose how we respond. This is the ultimate form of independence, knowing that we are not defined by our circumstances, but by how we choose to navigate them. Aging with this mindset allows us to live fully, freely, and with a sense of peace that comes from knowing we are in control of our own destiny. Aging brings with it many opportunities for reflection, growth, and change. However, one of the most challenging aspects of growing older is managing the emotional complexities that arise as our relationships evolve. Children grow up and move away, friendships shift, and the roles we once played in the lives of others begin to change. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a powerful tool for navigating these transitions with grace: emotional detachment. This doesn't mean disengaging from life, but rather learning to protect one's inner peace by releasing unhealthy attachments to people, outcomes, and circumstances. Emotional detachment, in the Stoic sense, isn't about indifference. It's about creating a space between our emotions and the events that trigger them. As we grow older, life presents us with countless situations that challenge our ability to remain calm and centered. Whether it's health issues, the loss of loved ones, or simply the realization that we have less control over our external world, the potential for emotional turbulence is great. But Stoicism teaches that by learning to detach from these external circumstances, we can maintain our inner stability and peace. One of the core principles of Stoicism is the distinction between what is within our control and what is not. Our emotions, according to the Stoics, are largely reactions to things beyond our control. For example, the behavior of our children, the opinions of others, and the passage of time are all out of our hands. By practicing emotional detachment, we can acknowledge these realities without allowing them to dictate our emotional state. This is especially important as we age, when changes in our physical abilities, relationships, and roles may make us feel vulnerable. Stoicism encourages us to detach from the expectations we have of others, particularly our family. It's common to expect that our children will be there for us in the same way we were for them, or that they will understand and meet our emotional needs as we grow older. But these expectations often lead to disappointment. By practicing emotional detachment, We release these unrealistic hopes and allow ourselves to experience relationships as they are, not as we wish them to be. This doesn't mean we stop loving or caring for our family. Rather, it means loving them without the weight of expectation. This form of emotional detachment also extends to the concept of loss, which is inevitable as we age. Whether it's the loss of friends, loved ones, or even our own physical capabilities, aging is marked by a series of farewells. Stoicism teaches us that mourning and grief are natural responses, but they shouldn't dominate our lives. By detaching emotionally, we honor what has been lost while maintaining our focus on what remains within our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. This allows us to continue living fully, even in the face of significant change. In relationships, detachment doesn't mean coldness or withdrawal. Instead, it means maintaining a healthy emotional distance that allows us to preserve our peace, regardless of how others behave. As we age, it's important to recognize that we cannot control the actions or choices of others, especially our children and loved ones. Emotional detachment helps us avoid the suffering that comes from trying to control what we cannot. It teaches us to accept others as they are, without placing the burden of our happiness on their shoulders. Detachment is also a way to cultivate self-respect in old age. By letting go of the need for validation or approval from others, particularly family members, we empower ourselves to live authentically. Stoicism teaches us that our worth isn't determined by how others view us, but by how we view ourselves. This sense of self-worth is crucial as we age and as our external roles begin to shift. By practicing detachment, we can maintain a strong sense of identity and purpose, even when our external circumstances change. An important aspect of Stoic emotional detachment is learning to accept the impermanence of all things. Life is constantly in flux, and nothing lasts forever. This can be a difficult reality to face as we grow older, especially when we long for the stability of close relationships or the vitality of youth. However, Stoicism teaches that by accepting impermanence, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from trying to hold on to what is inevitably slipping away. This acceptance leads to a profound sense of peace, allowing us to enjoy the present without clinging to the past or fearing the future. One of the great gifts of emotional detachment is the ability to find calm in chaos. As we age, life may present us with numerous challenges, health problems, financial concerns, or family conflicts. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control these external events, we can control how we respond to them. By practicing detachment, we create a buffer between ourselves and the emotional storms that surround us. This buffer allows us to remain centered, even when life feels overwhelming. Emotional detachment is not about shutting down or closing off to the world. It's about creating emotional space that allows us to navigate life with clarity and composure. As we age, this becomes increasingly important. The emotional highs and lows of youth can give way to a more measured and peaceful approach to life. By detaching from emotional extremes, we protect ourselves from unnecessary suffering and cultivate a deeper sense of well-being. One of the most common sources of emotional turmoil in old age is the fear of being alone. Many people fear that as they age, they will be left behind or forgotten by family and friends. Stoicism, however, teaches us that solitude is not something to be feared, but embraced. Emotional detachment helps us see that our sense of peace and fulfillment doesn't depend on the constant presence of others. By learning to be comfortable with solitude, we free ourselves from the fear of loneliness and cultivate a deeper relationship with ourselves. Detachment also helps us manage the complex emotions that come with watching our children grow into independent adults. As parents, it can be difficult to let go of the role we once played in their lives. Stoicism teaches us that clinging to the past only causes pain. By detaching emotionally, we allow our children the freedom to live their own lives without feeling the need to fulfill our emotional needs. This creates healthier, more balanced relationships, where love is given freely, not out of obligation. Emotional detachment also provides a sense of liberation from the societal expectations placed on us as we age. Society often tells us that we should behave a certain way, or that our value diminishes as we grow older. Stoicism rejects these notions and encourages us to detach from external judgments. By doing so, we free ourselves from the pressure to conform to societal expectations and instead focus on living in alignment with our own values and principles. Another key benefit of emotional detachment is the ability to navigate the physical changes that come with aging. As our bodies age, it's natural to feel a sense of loss or frustration over what we can no longer do. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control the aging process, we can control our response to it. By detaching from the idea that our worth is tied to our physical abilities, we maintain a sense of dignity and self-respect, regardless of the changes in our bodies. The practice of emotional detachment also allows us to manage the anxiety that often accompanies aging. The fear of the unknown, particularly in relation to health or financial security, can cause significant emotional distress. Stoicism teaches us that worrying about the future is futile, as we cannot control what has not yet happened. By focusing on the present and detaching from future anxieties, we protect our peace of mind and approach life with greater calm and clarity. Detachment is not about suppressing emotions, but about learning to observe them without becoming consumed by them. As we age, emotional regulation becomes increasingly important. Stoicism offers practical tools for managing emotions, such as mindfulness and self-reflection. By practicing these techniques, we can observe our emotions without allowing them to dictate our actions. This emotional discipline is a key component of aging peacefully and with grace. Another important aspect of emotional detachment is the ability to forgive. As we grow older, we may carry the weight of past grievances or unresolved conflicts. Stoicism teaches us that holding on to anger or resentment only harms ourselves. By practicing emotional detachment, we can release these negative emotions and find peace in forgiveness. This doesn't mean condoning hurtful behavior, but rather freeing ourselves from the emotional burden of the past. In old age, emotional detachment also allows us to maintain healthy boundaries in our relationships. As our children and loved ones grow and change, we may feel the need to step in and offer advice or guidance. However, Stoicism teaches us to respect the autonomy of others. By detaching from the need to control or influence the lives of our loved ones, we allow them the space to grow, while also protecting our own peace of mind. Stoicism also encourages us to detach from the desire for material possessions as we age. The pursuit of wealth and status may have driven us in our younger years, but as we grow older, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what truly matters: inner peace and contentment. Emotional detachment from material desires allows us to live more simply and to find joy in the things that cannot be bought or measured. The practice of emotional detachment also helps us navigate the grief that often accompanies aging. Whether it's the loss of loved ones or the loss of certain abilities, aging is marked by moments of deep sadness. Stoicism teaches us that grief is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to consume us. By detaching from the idea that life should be free of pain, we can accept grief as part of the human experience and continue living with a sense of purpose and peace. Emotional detachment also plays a key role in helping us maintain a sense of humility as we age. As we grow older, it can be tempting to hold on to our past achievements or to expect others to treat us with a certain level of deference. However, Stoicism teaches us that true wisdom lies in humility. By detaching from the need for recognition or validation, we remain grounded and focused on what truly matters, living a life of virtue and inner peace. Stoicism encourages us to detach from the idea of perfection, particularly as we age. Life is messy, and aging is no exception. There will be moments of joy, but also moments of frustration and difficulty. By practicing emotional detachment, we learn to accept the imperfections of life and to find peace in the midst of it all. This acceptance allows us to approach aging with a sense of calm, rather than feeling overwhelmed by the inevitable challenges. The practice of emotional detachment also helps us cultivate resilience in the face of adversity. As we age, we may encounter setbacks or difficulties that test our emotional strength. Stoicism teaches us that resilience comes from within, from the ability to detach from external circumstances and remain focused on what we can control. By practicing emotional detachment, we build the mental and emotional strength needed to navigate life's challenges with grace. Finally, emotional detachment allows us to embrace the present moment fully. As we age, it's easy to get caught up in thoughts of the past or worries about the future. But Stoicism teaches us that the present moment is all we truly have. By detaching from regrets or fears, we can live fully in the here and now, appreciating the beauty of life as it is, rather than as we wish it to be. Through the practice of emotional detachment, we can age with a sense of peace, dignity, and inner strength. Stoicism offers us a roadmap for navigating the emotional complexities of life, allowing us to release the need for control, expectations, and attachment. In doing so, we open ourselves to a life of true freedom, where peace is not something we seek from others, but something we cultivate within ourselves. Embracing the Stoic principles of self-discipline and self-reliance has always been the foundation of a resilient and peaceful life, especially as we navigate the complexities of aging. As we continue this journey of cultivating independence and emotional strength, it becomes clear that the influence of family can either support or challenge these values. Relying too much on family in our later years, though comforting in theory, can carry hidden dangers that threaten our autonomy and inner peace. Understanding these risks helps us to better balance love and connection with the Stoic ideals of self-reliance and emotional detachment. One of the most significant risks of relying on family is the gradual loss of autonomy. As we grow older, there's a natural tendency to lean on those we've nurtured for support. However, Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from within, and the more we place our reliance on others, the more we surrender our ability to make independent decisions. This erosion of autonomy can happen subtly, where over time we become more accustomed to being cared for rather than making choices that align with our values. The loss of personal freedom, even in well-intentioned situations, diminishes our sense of control over our lives. A related danger is the emotional manipulation that can unintentionally arise when dependency is involved. Family members may feel obligated to provide care, and over time, feelings of guilt or resentment can seep into the relationship. Stoicism urges us to practice emotional detachment, which allows us to recognize that our emotional well-being should not hinge on others' willingness or ability to meet our needs. By maintaining our emotional distance in a healthy way, we protect not only ourselves, but also the relationships we cherish from being tainted by these complex emotions. Relying on family can also lead to a diminished sense of self. As we become more dependent on our children or other relatives, we may begin to define ourselves by those relationships. Stoicism teaches that our sense of identity and purpose must come from within, not from the external roles we play in others' lives. The danger here is that, in relying too heavily on family, we risk losing touch with who we are as individuals, which can lead to a sense of purposelessness and decline in self-worth, especially in old age. Another risk is the inevitable disappointment that comes with relying on others to fulfill our needs. No matter how close or loving our relationships may be, people are fallible and circumstances change. Children may not always be available to provide the support we expect due to their own obligations or challenges. Stoicism teaches us to temper our expectations, knowing that others' actions are outside of our control. By relying on family, we set ourselves up for disappointment when their lives pull them away from the role we hoped they would fill. As we age, the fear of becoming a burden looms large. Depending on family can intensify this fear, making us feel as though we are a weight on the shoulders of those we love. The guilt that accompanies this feeling can erode our emotional well-being and cause us to withdraw from relationships out of shame. Stoicism offers a way out of this cycle by encouraging us to maintain our self-reliance and avoid placing undue burdens on others. This doesn't mean refusing help when necessary, but rather ensuring that we are not leaning on others to the point where it causes strain. Family members who take on the role of caregiver may also experience feelings of resentment, especially if the demands of caregiving interfere with their personal lives. While family bonds are strong, caregiving can place emotional, physical, and financial strains on loved ones. Stoicism teaches that we should always be mindful of the impact our needs have on others. When we rely too heavily on family, we risk creating an unspoken tension that may lead to conflict or a breakdown in relationships, damaging the very connections we value most. Over-reliance on family can also foster a sense of entitlement. When we expect our children or relatives to meet our needs, we may lose sight of the fact that their assistance is a gift, not a given. Stoicism urges us to approach life with gratitude, not entitlement. By practicing humility and recognizing that no one owes us anything, we can prevent the toxic mindset of entitlement from damaging our relationships with those we love. Instead of assuming their help, we should express appreciation for the care and support they provide. Another subtle but significant danger is the loss of personal growth that comes from over-reliance on family. As we age, it's easy to fall into the mindset that our days of learning and evolving are behind us, especially if we are being cared for by others. Stoicism, however, emphasizes lifelong growth and self-improvement. Relying on family to fulfill our needs may lead to complacency, where we stop challenging ourselves to grow, learn, and maintain independence. This loss of growth not only diminishes our sense of purpose, but can also lead to a decline in mental and emotional well-being. In addition to stunting personal growth, dependency on family can also prevent us from developing the resilience needed to face life's challenges. Stoicism teaches that adversity is an opportunity for growth, and by facing difficulties on our own, we build inner strength. When we rely too much on others to solve our problems or meet our needs, we miss out on the chance to cultivate resilience. Over time, this lack of resilience can make us more vulnerable to life's inevitable hardships, leaving us less equipped to handle difficulties with grace. A more practical danger of relying on family in later years is the risk of financial strain. As the cost of care increases with age, many families find themselves struggling to balance the emotional and financial demands of caregiving. Stoicism encourages us to be aware of the consequences of our actions, and by maintaining financial independence for as long as possible, we can avoid placing an unnecessary burden on our loved ones. This not only preserves our sense of autonomy, but also ensures that our relationships are not strained by financial concerns. Furthermore, When we rely too much on family, we may lose our sense of responsibility for our own well-being. Stoicism teaches that self-discipline and self-care are essential to a peaceful and fulfilling life. By expecting others to take care of us, we may neglect our own health, both physical and emotional. This neglect can lead to a decline in our ability to care for ourselves, further deepening the cycle of dependency and diminishing our self-worth. Another danger is the potential loss of dignity that comes with becoming overly dependent on family. While aging may require accepting help, it's important to retain a sense of dignity and self-respect. Stoicism teaches that dignity comes from within and is maintained through our actions and attitudes. By relying too much on family, we risk losing control over our lives and diminishing our own sense of dignity, which is vital to aging with grace and peace. Over-reliance on family can also create unhealthy dynamics within relationships. When one party becomes too dependent on the other, it can lead to an imbalance of power, where the caregiver feels overwhelmed and the recipient feels powerless. Stoicism encourages us to maintain healthy boundaries in our relationships, where both parties can engage in a way that supports mutual respect and independence. By setting clear boundaries, we ensure that our relationships remain healthy and balanced, even as our needs change. Another hidden danger is the erosion of self-confidence that comes with dependency. The more we rely on family to meet our needs, the less confident we may feel in our ability to handle life's challenges on our own. This loss of confidence can lead to a sense of helplessness, where we become overly reliant on others to navigate even the simplest aspects of life. Stoicism teaches that self-confidence is built through self-reliance, and by maintaining our independence, we preserve our sense of confidence and competence. Relying on family also puts us at risk of losing sight of what truly brings fulfillment. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes from within, not from external relationships or circumstances. When we depend on family to provide us with a sense of purpose or emotional security, we may lose touch with the deeper sources of fulfillment that come from self-awareness and personal growth. By focusing on cultivating our inner resources, we can find fulfillment that is not dependent on the actions or presence of others. In addition to the emotional risks, relying on family can lead to physical decline. When we expect others to take care of us, we may become less motivated to take care of ourselves. This can lead to a decline in physical health, as we may neglect exercise, diet, or self-care in favor of allowing others to handle these responsibilities. Stoicism teaches that maintaining our physical health is a key part of self-reliance, and by taking responsibility for our own well-being, we can ensure that we remain as healthy and independent as possible. The erosion of boundaries is another danger that comes with relying on family. When we become dependent on others, it's easy for the lines between caregiver and recipient to blur, leading to confusion and tension in the relationship. Stoicism encourages clear and healthy boundaries, where each individual is responsible for their own actions and well-being. By maintaining these boundaries, we can avoid the pitfalls of dependency and ensure that our relationships remain respectful and balanced. One of the most significant dangers of relying on family is the potential for isolation. While it may seem counterintuitive, over-reliance on family can lead to social withdrawal, as we may become more focused on our immediate family members and less engaged with the wider community. Stoicism teaches the importance of staying connected to society and finding fulfillment in a broader sense of purpose. By maintaining our independence, we can ensure that we remain socially engaged and avoid the loneliness that often accompanies isolation. Relying too much on family can also lead to a loss of agency. When we allow others to make decisions for us, we lose the ability to direct our own lives. Stoicism teaches that agency is central to living a virtuous and fulfilling life. By taking responsibility for our own decisions and actions, we maintain control over our lives even as we age. This sense of agency is crucial for maintaining a sense of purpose and direction, regardless of external circumstances. Over-reliance on family can also lead to a diminished sense of accountability. When we expect others to take care of us, we may become less accountable for our own well-being and actions. Stoicism teaches that accountability is essential to living a virtuous life, and by maintaining our independence, we ensure that we remain responsible for our own actions and decisions. This accountability is key to preserving our integrity and self-respect. Stoicism provides us with the tools to navigate the complexities of aging with independence, emotional resilience, and self-reliance. While family can offer support and companionship, over-reliance on them carries hidden dangers that can erode our autonomy, self-worth, and sense of purpose. By embracing Stoic principles, we can maintain healthy relationships with our family while preserving our dignity, agency, and inner peace. This balance allows us to age with grace, resilience, and a deep sense of fulfillment that comes from within. Letting go of expectations is one of the hardest lessons we can learn in life, especially when it comes to our children. We raise them, guide them, and invest so much of ourselves in their future, hoping they will turn out a certain way or respond to us in ways that validate our efforts. Yet, Stoicism teaches us that these expectations, especially in our later years, can lead to frustration, disappointment, and even resentment. By releasing the need to expect anything from our children, we find a deeper peace and contentment, grounded in the understanding that our happiness cannot depend on their actions or choices. At the heart of Stoicism is the belief that we cannot control the actions of others. This includes our children. We may wish for them to be present, to care for us, or to make decisions that align with our values, but their lives are their own to live. By letting go of the need to control or influence their behavior, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster that comes with unmet expectations. This freedom allows us to focus on what we can control: our reactions, our thoughts, and our inner state of mind. Expectations often lead to disappointment because they set us up to depend on outcomes we have no power over. In the case of our children, the more we expect from them, the more likely we are to feel let down when they fail to meet those expectations. Stoicism teaches that disappointment is born from attachment to how we think things should be, rather than accepting them as they are. By letting go of expectations, we open ourselves to the possibility of experiencing our children as they truly are, without the cloud of unmet hopes hanging over our relationships. One of the key dangers of expecting too much from our children is the strain it places on the relationship. Children, even as adults, often feel the weight of parental expectations, whether they are spoken or unspoken. This pressure can create distance, as they may fear failing to meet those expectations or feel resentful for being held to standards that don't reflect their own desires. Stoicism teaches us to accept others as they are, without demanding that they change to fit our needs. By doing so, we create space for more authentic, less burdened connections with our children. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean giving up on love or care for our children. On the contrary, it allows us to love them more freely and fully, without the conditions that expectations create. When we stop expecting certain behaviors or outcomes, we can appreciate our children for who they are in the present moment, rather than who we think they should be. This kind of unconditional love is at the core of Stoic philosophy, which emphasizes that we should act with virtue and love, regardless of the actions or responses of others. One of the most liberating aspects of letting go of expectations is the peace it brings. When we no longer depend on our children to behave a certain way or to fulfill specific roles in our lives, we are free from the constant anxiety of whether they will meet our needs. This peace is not about indifference, but about accepting that our happiness and well-being are not contingent on anyone else's behavior. In this sense, Stoicism offers a path to emotional freedom that allows us to navigate the complexities of family relationships with calm and clarity. Another reason Stoicism encourages us to let go of expectations from our children is that it teaches us to focus on our own inner development. By releasing the need for our children to validate our lives or choices, we shift the focus inward toward our own growth and self-reliance. Stoicism is fundamentally about cultivating inner strength and virtue, and this can only be achieved when we stop looking outward for fulfillment. Our children, like all others, are on their own paths, and their choices are a reflection of their journey, not ours. The practice of letting go of expectations is also a form of self-protection. When we place our emotional well-being in the hands of our children's actions, we make ourselves vulnerable to their decisions, which may not always align with our desires. Stoicism teaches that our peace of mind should not be subject to the whims of others. By detaching from the need for our children to act in certain ways, we safeguard our emotional stability and ensure that our inner tranquility remains intact, no matter what happens externally. Another hidden benefit of releasing expectations from our children is that it fosters greater respect and understanding within the relationship. When we stop trying to control or influence their lives, our children often feel a sense of relief and gratitude. They are free to be themselves without the burden of trying to live up to someone else's ideals. This respect is mutual, as we also learn to respect their autonomy and choices, even when they differ from our own. In this way, Stoicism encourages healthier, more balanced relationships built on mutual acceptance. Letting go of expectations also helps us navigate the inevitable changes that occur as our children grow and develop their own lives. As parents, we may long for the closeness we once shared or expect that they will always prioritize us in their lives. However, Stoicism reminds us that everything is in flux, and clinging to past dynamics or future hopes only creates suffering. By embracing the natural evolution of our relationships with our children, we can adapt to these changes with grace and wisdom rather than feeling left behind or abandoned. One of the most profound lessons of Stoicism is the understanding that we are responsible for our own happiness. Expecting our children to fulfill our emotional needs or provide us with a sense of purpose is a recipe for dissatisfaction. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, from living a life of virtue and integrity. When we let go of the expectation that our children will bring us happiness, we reclaim the power to create our own joy, independent of anyone else's actions. Letting go of expectations also prevents us from projecting our own desires onto our children. It's easy to fall into the trap of wanting our children to fulfill dreams we didn't achieve or to make choices that align with our values. Stoicism, however, teaches that each person's path is their own, and we cannot impose our will on others without causing harm. By releasing these projections, we allow our children the freedom to live their lives authentically, and we free ourselves from the disappointment that comes when they choose a different path. Another reason Stoicism teaches us to let go of expectations from our children is that it helps us cultivate gratitude for what we do have. When we stop focusing on what our children are not providing, we can appreciate the ways they do show up in our lives. Gratitude is a central Stoic virtue, and by practicing it, we shift our attention away from lack and toward abundance. This simple shift in perspective can transform our relationships with our children, allowing us to find joy in the present rather than dwelling on unmet needs. Letting go of expectations also frees us from the habit of comparison. It's easy to compare our relationships with our children to those of others, whether it's a friend whose child calls every day or a sibling who seems more engaged with their parents. Stoicism teaches that comparison is the thief of joy. By focusing on our own unique relationships with our children, rather than measuring them against others, we free ourselves from the feelings of inadequacy or envy that comparison often breeds. One of the most challenging aspects of parenthood is accepting that our children may not always meet the standards we set for them. Whether it's their career choices, relationships, or life decisions, our expectations can lead us to feel disappointment when they take paths that differ from what we envisioned. Stoicism teaches that this disappointment is a result of our attachment to a particular outcome. By letting go of these attachments, we free ourselves from the pain of unmet expectations and open ourselves to the possibility of supporting our children in their own unique journeys. Another benefit of releasing expectations is that it allows us to engage with our children without the need for control. When we expect specific behaviors or actions from our children, we may unconsciously try to manipulate situations to get the outcome we want. This need for control can create tension and resistance in the relationship. Stoicism teaches that the only control we truly have is over ourselves, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. By relinquishing control over our children's lives, we create space for more authentic, less conflicted interactions. Letting go of expectations from our children also teaches us the value of detachment. Detachment, in the Stoic sense, doesn't mean indifference, but rather the ability to engage with others without becoming emotionally entangled in their choices or behaviors. When we detach from the need for our children to fulfill specific roles or meet our standards, we can approach our relationships with greater calm and clarity. This detachment allows us to remain present in their lives without being overwhelmed by their actions or decisions. One of the core teachings of Stoicism is that our well-being should not depend on external factors, including the actions of our children. When we place our emotional security in the hands of others, we give away our power. Letting go of expectations from our children allows us to reclaim that power and focus on cultivating our own inner peace. This shift in focus helps us build emotional resilience so that we can navigate the ups and downs of life without being thrown off course by the actions of others. Releasing expectations also helps us avoid the trap of conditional love. When we expect certain behaviors or outcomes from our children, our love for them can become conditional based on whether or not they meet our expectations. Stoicism teaches that true love is unconditional and not tied to external circumstances. By letting go of expectations, we free ourselves to love our children for who they are, not for who we want them to be. This unconditional love creates stronger, more authentic bonds that are not subject to the whims of unmet desires. Another benefit of letting go of expectations is that it allows us to be more present with our children. When we are focused on what they should be doing or how they should be behaving, we are not fully engaged in the present moment. Stoicism teaches the importance of being mindful and present, appreciating life as it unfolds, rather than getting lost in thoughts of what could or should be. By letting go of expectations, we can enjoy our time with our children more fully, without the distractions of unmet hopes clouding our experience. Letting go of expectations also fosters a sense of acceptance. Acceptance in the Stoic tradition is about embracing life as it is, rather than resisting or wishing it were different. When we let go of our expectations for our children, we practice acceptance of who they are and where they are in their lives. This acceptance brings a deep sense of peace, as we no longer feel the need to change or control them. It also helps us cultivate a more compassionate and understanding approach to our relationships. Another reason Stoicism teaches us to let go of expectations is that it helps us avoid the pain of attachment. When we become attached to specific outcomes or behaviors from our children, we set ourselves up for suffering when those expectations are not met. Stoicism teaches that attachment to external things, whether they are material possessions or the actions of others, inevitably leads to suffering. By practicing non-attachment, we free ourselves from this cycle of pain and create space for greater emotional freedom and peace. Letting go of expectations also encourages us to take responsibility for our own happiness. Stoicism teaches that our happiness is not something that can be given or taken away by others. It is something we cultivate within ourselves through our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. By releasing the expectation that our children will make us happy or fulfill our emotional needs, we take back the responsibility for our own well-being. This shift in responsibility empowers us to create a life of joy and contentment that is not dependent on anyone else. Releasing expectations from our children also allows us to embrace the unpredictability of life. Life is full of surprises, and our children's choices may not always align with what we had planned or hoped for them. Stoicism teaches that uncertainty is a natural part of existence, and resisting it only leads to frustration. By letting go of our need for certainty and control, we can navigate the unpredictability of our children's lives with greater flexibility and openness, allowing us to adapt to whatever comes our way. Letting go of expectations is also a way to cultivate humility. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we know what is best for our children, or that our way of doing things is the right way. However, Stoicism teaches that we must approach life with humility, recognizing that we do not have all the answers. By letting go of the expectation that our children should follow our guidance or live according to our values, we practice humility and create space for their own wisdom and experience to guide them. Another benefit of releasing expectations is that it allows us to focus on what truly matters in our relationships with our children. When we let go of the need for them to meet certain standards or fulfill specific roles, we can focus on the deeper aspects of our connection: love, understanding, and shared experiences. Stoicism teaches that the most meaningful aspects of life are those that come from within, not from external achievements or validation. By focusing on these deeper values, we create more fulfilling and lasting relationships with our children. Letting go of expectations also helps us navigate the inevitable challenges that come with parenting. Whether it's disagreements, misunderstandings, or conflicts, the relationship between parents and children is not without its difficulties. Stoicism teaches that challenges are a natural part of life, and by approaching them with a calm and open mind, we can navigate them with greater ease. When we let go of the expectation that our relationship with our children should be perfect or free from conflict, we can address challenges with patience and understanding rather than frustration or disappointment. Another reason Stoicism teaches us to let go of expectations is that it helps us maintain a sense of balance in our relationships. When we place too much weight on our children's actions or decisions, we can lose our sense of equilibrium, becoming overly invested in their lives. Stoicism teaches that balance is essential to a peaceful life, and by letting go of expectations, we maintain our emotional balance, allowing us to engage with our children in a way that is healthy and sustainable. Releasing expectations also helps us avoid the trap of living vicariously through our children. It's natural to want the best for our children, but when we expect them to fulfill our own dreams or desires, we risk imposing our will on their lives. Stoicism teaches that each person's path is their own, and we must respect their autonomy. By letting go of the expectation that our children will achieve certain things or live in a way that reflects our values, we free them to pursue their own happiness and fulfillment. Letting go of expectations also allows us to practice forgiveness. When our children make choices that hurt or disappoint us, it can be difficult to let go of those feelings. However, Stoicism teaches that forgiveness is essential to maintaining inner peace. By releasing the expectation that our children will never hurt us or make mistakes, we open ourselves to the possibility of forgiveness, allowing us to heal and move forward with greater compassion and understanding. Finally, letting go of expectations from our children allows us to experience greater freedom in our own lives. When we stop placing our happiness and well-being in the hands of others, we free ourselves from the emotional chains that bind us to their actions. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from within, and by letting go of expectations, we reclaim our power to create a life of peace, joy, and fulfillment, independent of anyone else's behavior. Letting go of expectations from our children grants us the emotional freedom to shape our own paths without being tethered to the actions or decisions of others. This sense of autonomy is essential as we grow older and shift our focus inward, seeking fulfillment from within rather than from external sources. Building on this, Stoicism teaches us that living on our own terms, especially in our later years, is key to maintaining both independence and inner peace. By avoiding dependency, we not only preserve our dignity, but also ensure that our lives remain aligned with our true values and principles. Dependency in old age often feels like a natural consequence of physical or emotional changes, but Stoicism reminds us that our freedom comes from the mind. Even when external circumstances push us toward relying on others, we still have control over how we navigate those dependencies. Stoicism encourages us to maintain a mindset of self-reliance by focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, reactions, and inner strength, while gracefully accepting what lies beyond our influence. Living on your own terms means embracing the reality that no one else can define your life for you. Too often, as people age, they fall into patterns of allowing others to dictate their choices, whether those others are family members, caregivers, or societal expectations. Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from aligning your life with your own values and not letting external pressures take the lead. By keeping this principle in mind, we can protect our autonomy, ensuring that our actions are driven by our own desires, not by the expectations of others. Avoiding dependency in old age is not about rejecting help. It's about knowing when and how to accept it without compromising your sense of self. Stoicism encourages us to be practical and realistic, acknowledging that there will be moments when assistance is needed. However, accepting help with a Stoic mindset means doing so without relinquishing control over our lives. We are still the architects of our own existence, and we must ensure that receiving help doesn't turn into surrendering our freedom. One of the greatest threats to living on your own terms is the subtle way dependency can erode your self-confidence. When you begin to rely on others for tasks or decisions you once handled yourself, it's easy to lose faith in your own abilities. Stoicism teaches that resilience comes from facing challenges head-on and believing in your capacity to endure. By practicing self-reliance in the small things, handling daily tasks, making decisions, managing emotions, you strengthen your inner resolve, even as age presents new difficulties. Stoicism also helps us avoid the emotional traps that come with dependency. When we depend on others too much, we often develop a sense of entitlement or expectation, which can lead to frustration when those expectations are not met. Living on your own terms requires letting go of the need for others to validate your choices or support your decisions. This emotional detachment, so central to Stoic practice, allows you to maintain peace of mind regardless of the actions or opinions of others. Self-reliance fosters a sense of purpose that is crucial for aging well. Stoicism teaches that purpose is not something we find in external achievements or roles, but in the daily practice of virtue and intentional living. When you live on your own terms, you are not waiting for others to give your life meaning or direction. Instead, you take charge of your own purpose, finding fulfillment in the things that align with your personal values, whether that's through creative pursuits, self-reflection, or contributing to the well-being of those around you. One of the most empowering aspects of Stoicism is its emphasis on inner strength. No matter what external limitations you face, your inner resources are always within your control. Living on your own terms means recognizing this truth and cultivating the mental and emotional strength to handle life's challenges. Dependency often arises when we overlook this strength, focusing instead on what we can no longer do physically or emotionally. By turning inward and nurturing our inner resilience, we avoid the trap of dependency and continue to grow and evolve even in old age. Living on your own terms also means taking responsibility for your life, a fundamental Stoic principle. When we allow ourselves to become overly dependent on others, we risk placing the blame for our dissatisfaction or struggles on external circumstances or people. Stoicism teaches that personal responsibility is key to freedom. By accepting that we are responsible for our own happiness and well-being, we regain control over our lives, regardless of the challenges we face. One of the challenges of aging is the societal expectation that older adults should step back, accept their limitations, and rely more on others. Stoicism, however, challenges this narrative by teaching that limitations, whether physical or societal, do not define your ability to live meaningfully. Living on your own terms means pushing back against these expectations and continuing to define yourself by your own actions and choices. Even in the face of physical decline or societal pressure, you retain the power to shape your life according to your own principles. A key component of Stoicism is accepting what cannot be changed while focusing on what can. This acceptance is crucial for avoiding dependency in old age. While it's natural to experience changes in health, mobility, or energy as you age, Stoicism reminds us that these changes do not diminish our ability to live autonomously. By accepting the aspects of aging we cannot control, we can direct our energy towards strengthening the areas of life where we still have influence: our mindset, our reactions, and our daily decisions. Stoicism encourages us to practice self-discipline, which is essential for living on our own terms. As we age, it becomes easier to fall into habits of complacency or avoidance, especially when faced with the discomfort of physical or emotional decline. However, living on your own terms requires discipline, the ability to make difficult choices in favor of long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. By practicing self-discipline, whether it's in maintaining health, managing emotions, or staying engaged with life, we avoid the passivity that leads to dependency. When you live on your own terms, you're not waiting for others to dictate the course of your life. Stoicism teaches that each moment is an opportunity to choose how you will respond to the world around you. In old age, this mindset is especially important because it ensures that you remain the active agent in your own life, rather than becoming passive in the face of circumstances. Dependency often arises when we lose this sense of agency, allowing others to take control of decisions that should be our own. Another crucial element of living on your own terms is learning how to manage your emotions, a skill that Stoicism cultivates through the practice of emotional detachment. When we allow our emotions to govern our actions, we become vulnerable to external forces that can lead us toward dependency. By detaching from fleeting emotions and focusing on rational thought, we maintain control over our lives, even in difficult situations. This emotional stability is key to preserving independence and living in alignment with your own values. Stoicism also teaches the importance of preparing for the inevitable. As we age, it's important to face the reality of physical and emotional decline without fear or avoidance. Living on your own terms means planning for these changes with a stoic mindset, ensuring that you remain in control of your life as much as possible, even when external circumstances become more challenging. By preparing for the future with calm and rational thought, you can make decisions that support your independence rather than falling into reactive dependency. In the face of adversity, Stoicism teaches us to practice perseverance. Living on your own terms in old age often means enduring physical or emotional challenges with grace and resilience. It is easy to give in to the temptation to rely on others when the going gets tough, but Stoicism reminds us that perseverance builds character and strengthens our sense of self. By facing difficulties head-on and pushing through them, we maintain our autonomy and continue to grow, even when life feels overwhelming. One of the dangers of dependency is the loss of dignity, something that Stoicism helps us protect by encouraging self-respect and personal responsibility. When we live on our own terms, we maintain our dignity by taking ownership of our lives, making decisions that reflect our values, and refusing to relinquish control over our actions. Dependency can often strip away this dignity, leaving us feeling powerless and disrespected. By living according to Stoic principles, we preserve our dignity and ensure that we age with self-respect and integrity. Stoicism also teaches us to live in harmony with nature, which includes accepting the natural course of aging while still striving to live fully and independently. Living on your own terms means acknowledging the changes that come with age without allowing them to define you. Instead of resisting the inevitable, Stoicism encourages us to adapt with grace, finding new ways to remain autonomous and fulfilled, even as we navigate the complexities of growing older. Living on your own terms requires the ability to set boundaries, another important Stoic lesson. As we age, we may feel pressure from family, society, or caregivers to conform to certain expectations or to relinquish control over our lives. However, Stoicism teaches us the importance of maintaining clear boundaries that protect our autonomy and ensure that we remain in charge of our own decisions. By asserting these boundaries, we can avoid falling into patterns of dependency that undermine our independence. Another way Stoicism helps us avoid dependency is through the cultivation of gratitude. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we are less likely to fall into the trap of dependency. Gratitude shifts our perspective from one of scarcity to one of abundance, allowing us to appreciate the resources, abilities, and relationships we still have, rather than becoming overly reliant on others to fill perceived gaps in our lives. Living on your own terms also means accepting responsibility for your physical and mental health. Stoicism teaches that self-care is an essential part of self-reliance. By taking responsibility for your health, whether through diet, exercise, or mental well-being, you reduce the likelihood of becoming dependent on others for care. Stoicism encourages proactive, disciplined care for the body and mind, ensuring that you remain as capable and autonomous as possible throughout your later years. Avoiding dependency also requires us to be mindful of the choices we make, a practice that Stoicism emphasizes through reflection and awareness. When we live on our own terms, we consciously choose actions that align with our values and support our independence. Stoicism teaches us to reflect on our decisions, considering their long-term consequences rather than seeking immediate comfort or convenience. This mindfulness ensures that we make choices that preserve our autonomy rather than leading us down a path of reliance on others. One of the greatest benefits of living on your own terms is the sense of fulfillment it brings. Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment comes from living a life in alignment with virtue and purpose, not from external achievements or relationships. When we avoid dependency and take responsibility for our own happiness, we experience a deeper sense of satisfaction and contentment. This inner fulfillment, cultivated through Stoic practice, allows us to navigate the later years of life with grace, resilience, and a sense of peace. Stoicism also teaches the importance of resilience in the face of change. Living on your own terms means adapting to the inevitable changes that come with aging without losing your sense of self. Whether it's changes in physical ability, living situations, or relationships, Stoicism reminds us that we can remain grounded and autonomous even in the face of uncertainty. This resilience allows us to avoid dependency by maintaining control over our lives, regardless of external circumstances. By practicing Stoicism, we learn to cultivate self-sufficiency in all aspects of life. Living on your own terms means not only taking care of your physical needs, but also fostering emotional and mental independence. Stoicism encourages us to rely on our inner strength and wisdom, rather than seeking validation or support from others. This self-sufficiency is key to avoiding dependency in old age, as it ensures that we remain in control of our own well-being. Living on your own terms also means embracing solitude, another key Stoic principle. As we age, it's natural for social dynamics to shift, and we may find ourselves spending more time alone. Stoicism teaches that solitude is not something to be feared, but embraced as an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. By becoming comfortable with our own company, we avoid the emotional dependency that can arise from needing constant interaction or support from others. One of the most powerful tools Stoicism provides for living on your own terms is the ability to practice acceptance. As we age, there will inevitably be things we cannot control: health issues, loss, changes in our living situation. But Stoicism teaches that we can accept these realities without allowing them to define us. By practicing acceptance, we can continue to live independently, focusing on what we can control and letting go of the rest. Finally, living on your own terms means staying true to yourself, no matter what challenges or changes arise. Stoicism teaches that authenticity is key to a fulfilling life. By living in alignment with your own values, rather than conforming to the expectations of others, you ensure that your life remains your own, even in old age. This commitment to authenticity, grounded in Stoic principles, allows you to avoid dependency and live with dignity, resilience, and peace. Living on your own terms, as Stoicism teaches, is not just about maintaining independence, but also about finding peace within yourself. As we age, it becomes clear that true freedom is less about external circumstances and more about the internal strength we cultivate. Solitude, often seen as something to be feared, is actually a powerful tool for gaining this freedom. Stoicism encourages us to embrace solitude not as a state of loneliness, but as a path to clarity, wisdom, and self-reliance. Aging alone, when approached with a Stoic mindset, can lead to a deeper sense of fulfillment and liberation that many never experience. Solitude is often misunderstood. Society tends to view being alone, especially in old age, as a negative state, something to avoid at all costs. But for the Stoic, solitude is an opportunity to strengthen the mind, free from the distractions and expectations of others. When we are alone, we are no longer defined by relationships, roles, or societal pressures. Instead, we have the chance to connect deeply with our inner selves, gaining insight into who we truly are, separate from external influences. The Stoics believed that solitude provides a space for self-reflection, which is essential for personal growth. In the quiet of solitude, there is a freedom that allows us to assess our lives without the noise of other people's opinions or demands. This reflection helps us to identify our true values, goals, and desires. When we spend time alone, we become more aware of our thoughts and emotions, and with that awareness comes the ability to refine our character and live more authentically. Aging alone doesn't mean being isolated from the world, but rather being at peace with oneself. Many fear solitude because they associate it with loneliness, but Stoicism teaches that loneliness only arises when we are disconnected from ourselves. True solitude is a state of inner contentment, where we are at ease in our own company. By embracing solitude, we gain the ability to enjoy our own thoughts, pursuits, and the simplicity of life without constantly seeking external validation or companionship. In solitude, we can free ourselves from the dependencies that often complicate relationships. As we age, it's natural to experience shifts in our social connections. Friends and family move away, relationships evolve, and people pass on. Stoicism teaches that clinging to others for happiness or fulfillment leads to suffering when those connections change. By learning to be content alone, we avoid the emotional turmoil that comes with relying on others for our sense of self-worth. The Stoics emphasized the importance of being self-sufficient. Solitude offers the perfect environment for cultivating this self-sufficiency. When we are alone, we are forced to rely on our own resources, both practical and emotional. This self-reliance builds resilience, making us stronger and more capable of handling life's challenges. Aging alone with a Stoic mindset is not about enduring hardship, but about discovering the strength that comes from knowing you have everything you need within yourself. One of the greatest gifts of solitude is the freedom to think clearly and deeply. In a world full of distractions and noise, it's difficult to find the time and space to truly contemplate life's deeper questions. Solitude provides that space. The Stoics believed that reflection is the key to wisdom, and wisdom is what allows us to live well. In solitude, we have the opportunity to consider what truly matters, to reflect on our actions, and to align our lives with the principles that lead to inner peace. Aging alone allows us to develop a deeper sense of independence, both physically and emotionally. Stoicism teaches that dependence on others can limit our freedom and create emotional suffering. When we live alone, we are less likely to become entangled in the expectations or dramas of others. Instead, we can focus on our own journey, making decisions that align with our personal values and desires, rather than being swayed by the needs or opinions of those around us. In solitude, we also gain the ability to cultivate gratitude. When we are alone, we become more attuned to the small joys of life that often go unnoticed in the hustle of social interactions. A quiet moment in nature, a well-prepared meal, or a good book can bring immense satisfaction when we are present to appreciate them. Stoicism teaches that gratitude is a key to happiness, and solitude provides the perfect setting for practicing it. Solitude also provides the freedom to explore our own minds without interference. In social settings, it's easy to adopt the beliefs, habits, and attitudes of others without fully examining them. In solitude, we are free to explore our own thoughts and challenge our assumptions. This process of introspection allows us to grow intellectually and spiritually, free from the distractions of external influence. For the Stoic, this intellectual freedom is one of the greatest benefits of solitude. Aging alone doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world. It means engaging with the world on your own terms. Stoicism teaches that we are part of a greater whole, and while solitude allows us to cultivate inner peace, it also helps us appreciate the interconnectedness of life. When we are at peace within ourselves, we can approach relationships and interactions with others from a place of strength and clarity, rather than neediness or dependence. In solitude, we find the freedom to live authentically. Without the expectations of others weighing us down, we can make choices that are true to ourselves. This is especially important as we age, when we may feel pressure to conform to societal norms about how we should live or what we should value. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from living in accordance with our own principles, not from conforming to external expectations. Solitude gives us the space to discover what those principles are. Another advantage of solitude is the freedom from distractions. In a social world, we are constantly bombarded with noise, people's opinions, societal expectations, and the demands of everyday life. Solitude strips away these distractions, allowing us to focus on what truly matters. The Stoics believed that focusing on what is within our control leads to inner peace. In solitude, we can hone this focus, free from the pressures of the outside world. In the quiet of solitude, we are also free from the fear of judgment. As we age, many people fear being judged for their choices, especially if those choices differ from societal expectations. Solitude offers a space where we can be ourselves without worrying about what others think. Stoicism teaches that the opinions of others are beyond our control and should not dictate our actions. In solitude, we can practice this detachment from judgment, living according to our own values rather than the expectations of others. Solitude also allows us to practice the Stoic principle of mindfulness. Being alone provides the perfect opportunity to be fully present in the moment, to observe our thoughts without distraction, and to cultivate inner calm. Mindfulness helps us to remain centered, even in the face of life's challenges. In solitude, we can develop this mindfulness, which serves as a foundation for living a peaceful and fulfilling life. One of the greatest misconceptions about solitude is that it leads to isolation. In reality, solitude can help us feel more connected to the world around us. When we are alone, we have the space to reflect on our place in the universe, to appreciate the beauty of nature, and to feel a deep sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. This sense of connection brings a profound sense of peace, which is one of the core teachings of Stoicism. Solitude also allows us to practice the Stoic discipline of control over our desires. When we are constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of external pleasures, material possessions, social status, or validation from others. In solitude, these distractions fade away, and we can focus on cultivating inner contentment. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, not from external sources. Solitude provides the ideal environment for practicing this detachment from worldly desires. In solitude, we are also free to cultivate our own routines and habits without interference. Stoicism teaches that discipline is key to living a virtuous life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for developing that discipline. Whether it's through daily meditation, physical exercise, or intellectual pursuits, solitude allows us to focus on our personal growth without the distractions of social obligations or the influence of others. The Stoics believed that solitude was essential for developing wisdom. In the quiet of solitude, we have the opportunity to reflect on our experiences, learn from our mistakes, and cultivate a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Wisdom comes not from external sources, but from within, and solitude provides the space we need to access that inner wisdom. As we age, This wisdom becomes even more valuable, guiding us through the complexities of life with grace and clarity. Living alone in old age also provides the freedom to let go of societal expectations. As we age, there is often pressure to conform to certain roles or behaviors, whether it's as a grandparent, retiree, or elder in the community. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from living in accordance with our own values, not from conforming to the expectations of others. Solitude allows us to break free from these societal pressures and live in a way that is true to ourselves. Solitude also provides the freedom to embrace simplicity. When we are alone, we can strip away the unnecessary distractions of life and focus on what truly matters. The Stoics believed that simplicity was key to living a virtuous life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for practicing that simplicity. In solitude, we can focus on the essentials, our health, our minds, and our inner peace, without getting caught up in the complexities of social life. In solitude, we also gain the freedom to practice self-compassion. When we are constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to be hard on ourselves, comparing ourselves to others, or feeling the pressure to meet societal standards. In solitude, we have the space to practice self-compassion, to accept ourselves as we are, and to treat ourselves with kindness and understanding. This self-compassion is essential for aging well, as it allows us to navigate the challenges of life with grace and resilience. Solitude also provides the opportunity to cultivate resilience. When we are alone, we are forced to rely on ourselves, both physically and emotionally. This self-reliance builds inner strength, making us more resilient in the face of life's challenges. The Stoics believed that resilience was essential for living a good life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for developing that resilience. In solitude, we learn to face difficulties head-on without relying on others for support. In the quiet of solitude, we also have the freedom to explore our own creativity. When we are alone, we are free from the distractions and judgments of others, allowing our creativity to flow freely. Whether it's through writing, painting, or other creative pursuits, solitude provides the perfect space for exploring our creative potential. Stoicism teaches that creativity is a key part of living a fulfilling life, and solitude provides the ideal environment for cultivating that creativity. Solitude also allows us to develop a deeper sense of self-awareness. In the quiet of solitude, we have the space to observe our thoughts and emotions without distraction, allowing us to gain a deeper understanding of ourselves. This self-awareness is essential for living a virtuous life, as it allows us to recognize our strengths and weaknesses and make decisions that align with our values. In solitude, we can practice this self-awareness, which serves as a foundation for personal growth and fulfillment. Aging alone also provides the freedom to focus on spiritual growth. Stoicism teaches that spiritual growth is essential for living a meaningful life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for cultivating that growth. Whether it's through meditation, prayer, or other spiritual practices, solitude allows us to connect with our inner selves and the greater universe. This spiritual connection brings a deep sense of peace and fulfillment, which is one of the core teachings of Stoicism. In solitude, we also have the freedom to live intentionally. When we are alone, we are free from the distractions of social life and can focus on living in alignment with our values. Stoicism teaches that intentional living is key to living a virtuous life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for practicing that intentionality. In solitude, we can focus on what truly matters, making decisions that align with our values and lead to a more fulfilling life. Solitude also provides the freedom to practice gratitude. In the quiet of solitude, we have the space to appreciate the small joys of life, whether it's a beautiful sunset, a quiet moment in nature, or a simple meal. Stoicism teaches that gratitude is essential for living a happy life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for practicing that gratitude. In solitude, we can focus on the abundance in our lives rather than the things we lack. Living alone in old age also provides the freedom to let go of the past. When we are constantly surrounded by others, it's easy to get caught up in old stories or regrets. Solitude provides the space to let go of the past and focus on the present moment. Stoicism teaches that the present moment is all we truly have, and solitude allows us to fully embrace that truth. In solitude, we also have the freedom to live simply. Without the distractions of social life, we can focus on the essentials, our health, our minds, and our inner peace. The Stoics believed that simplicity was key to living a virtuous life, and solitude provides the perfect environment for practicing that simplicity. In solitude, we can focus on what truly matters without getting caught up in the complexities of social life. Finally, solitude provides the freedom to age gracefully. Stoicism teaches that aging is a natural part of life, and solitude allows us to embrace that process with grace and dignity. In solitude, we have the space to reflect on our lives, to accept the changes that come with aging, and to focus on what truly matters. By embracing solitude, we can age with wisdom, resilience, and a deep sense of inner peace. Embracing solitude as a means to inner peace and freedom allows us to live with intention, appreciating the present moment and cultivating self-reliance. As we continue this journey of self-discovery and independence, Stoicism offers yet another essential lesson: how to age with dignity and self-sufficiency. Aging is inevitable, but how we approach it is entirely within our control. Stoicism provides us with the tools to maintain our dignity, even as our physical abilities decline, and to live with self-sufficiency, avoiding the trap of over-reliance on others. Stoicism teaches that aging is not something to be feared, but accepted as part of the natural cycle of life. By accepting this truth, we free ourselves from the anxiety that often accompanies the thought of growing older. Instead of fearing the loss of youth or vitality, we can focus on what remains within our control: our attitude, our actions, and our approach to life. This mindset allows us to age with dignity, knowing that while we may lose certain physical abilities, our inner strength and virtue remain intact. One of the core principles of Stoicism is accepting what we cannot change. This lesson is particularly important when it comes to aging. As we grow older, changes in our physical and mental capacities are inevitable. Stoicism teaches us to approach these changes with grace, understanding that resisting them only leads to frustration. By accepting the realities of aging, we can focus on adapting and continuing to live a meaningful life rather than clinging to the past or what we used to be able to do. Aging with dignity requires that we maintain our sense of self-worth, regardless of external circumstances. Stoicism reminds us that our worth is not determined by our physical abilities or social status, but by our character. As we age, it can be easy to feel diminished by the changes in our bodies or the loss of roles we once played. However, Stoicism teaches that our true value lies in our ability to live virtuously, to act with integrity, and to remain true to our principles, no matter what changes occur. Stoicism also encourages us to take responsibility for our own lives, even as we age. This sense of personal responsibility is key to maintaining dignity and self-sufficiency. While it's natural to require more help as we grow older, Stoicism teaches us to accept assistance without becoming dependent. We can maintain our autonomy by continuing to make decisions for ourselves, staying engaged with life, and focusing on what we can still do rather than what we've lost. One of the greatest threats to aging with dignity is the fear of losing control. Stoicism teaches that while we may lose control over certain aspects of our lives, we always have control over our minds. This inner control is what allows us to maintain our dignity, even in the face of physical decline or external challenges. By focusing on what is within our power, our thoughts, our actions, and our responses to life's challenges, we can preserve our sense of self and approach aging with a calm and steady mindset. Self-sufficiency is a key aspect of aging with dignity. Stoicism teaches that we should strive to be as self-reliant as possible, even as we grow older. This doesn't mean refusing help when it's needed, but rather cultivating the mindset that we are capable of handling life's challenges on our own terms. By maintaining a sense of independence, we can avoid the feeling of helplessness that often accompanies aging and instead approach this stage of life with confidence and self-respect. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of discipline, which is essential for aging with self-sufficiency. As we age, it becomes even more important to take care of ourselves, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Stoicism teaches that discipline is key to maintaining our health and well-being. Whether it's through regular exercise, healthy eating, or mental practices like meditation, discipline allows us to continue living independently and avoid the need for excessive reliance on others. Another important lesson from Stoicism is the value of simplicity. As we age, we may find that the things that once seemed important, material possessions, social status, or external validation, no longer hold the same meaning. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, not from external sources. By embracing simplicity, we free ourselves from the burdens of excess and focus on what truly matters: our inner peace, our relationships, and our ability to live virtuously. Aging with dignity also requires that we let go of the need for approval from others. Stoicism teaches that seeking validation from external sources is a trap that leads to suffering. As we age, we may feel pressure to conform to societal expectations or to prove that we are still valuable or capable. However, Stoicism reminds us that our worth is not determined by the opinions of others. By letting go of the need for approval, we can live more authentically and age with a sense of inner peace. One of the challenges of aging is the fear of becoming irrelevant or forgotten. Stoicism teaches us that our relevance is not determined by our external roles or achievements, but by the impact we have on the lives of others and the integrity with which we live our own lives. By focusing on living virtuously, treating others with kindness, and contributing to the well-being of those around us, we ensure that our lives continue to have meaning and purpose, regardless of our age. Stoicism also helps us prepare for the inevitable losses that come with aging: loss of loved ones, loss of physical abilities, and eventually the loss of life itself. Stoicism teaches that death is a natural part of life and that fearing it only leads to unnecessary suffering. By accepting the reality of death, we can approach it with dignity, knowing that it is simply another part of the human experience. This acceptance allows us to live more fully in the present, without the shadow of fear hanging over us. Aging with dignity also means embracing the wisdom that comes with experience. Stoicism teaches that with age comes a deeper understanding of life, one that can only be gained through years of reflection and growth. As we age, we have the opportunity to share this wisdom with others, whether through mentorship, storytelling, or simply living as an example of how to navigate life's challenges with grace. This wisdom is a gift that can enrich not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us. Self-sufficiency in old age is not just about physical independence, but also about emotional independence. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own emotions and that we should not rely on others to make us happy or fulfilled. As we age, it's important to cultivate this emotional self-reliance, knowing that our happiness comes from within, not from external circumstances or relationships. By maintaining emotional independence, we can avoid the feelings of frustration or resentment that often come with relying too much on others for our well-being. Stoicism also encourages us to focus on what we can control, rather than worrying about what is beyond our influence. This lesson is especially important as we age, when it's easy to become preoccupied with the things we can no longer do or the changes in our bodies and minds. By focusing on what we can still control, our attitudes, our actions, and our reactions to life's challenges, we can maintain a sense of empowerment and avoid the feelings of helplessness that often accompany aging. Aging with dignity also means being willing to accept help when it's needed, without feeling like we are losing our independence. Stoicism teaches that accepting help is not a sign of weakness, but a recognition of the interconnectedness of life. We are all part of a larger community, and just as we have helped others throughout our lives, there will be times when we need to accept help in return. By accepting help with grace and gratitude, we maintain our dignity while still acknowledging our need for support. One of the most important lessons Stoicism teaches about aging is the value of patience. As we grow older, it's easy to become frustrated with the changes in our bodies or the pace of life. However, Stoicism reminds us that patience is essential for living a virtuous life. By practicing patience with ourselves and others, we can navigate the challenges of aging with grace, rather than allowing frustration or impatience to rob us of our peace of mind. Stoicism also encourages us to practice gratitude, which is essential for aging with dignity. As we age, it's natural to focus on the things we have lost or the challenges we face. However, Stoicism teaches that gratitude is the key to happiness. By focusing on the things we still have, our health, our relationships, our experiences, we can cultivate a sense of contentment that allows us to age with dignity and peace. Aging with dignity also requires that we maintain a sense of purpose. Stoicism teaches that purpose is not something that diminishes with age, but something that evolves. As we age, our purpose may shift from external achievements to internal growth, or from career success to mentoring others. Whatever our purpose, Stoicism reminds us that it is essential for living a fulfilling life. By staying connected to our sense of purpose, we can continue to live with meaning and dignity, even as our physical abilities decline. Stoicism also teaches us the importance of resilience, which is essential for aging with self-sufficiency. Life is full of challenges, and aging is no exception. However, Stoicism reminds us that resilience is not about avoiding challenges, but about facing them with courage and strength. By cultivating resilience, we can navigate the difficulties of aging, whether they are physical, emotional, or social, with grace and dignity, knowing that we have the inner strength to endure. Another key aspect of aging with dignity is maintaining a sense of humor. Stoicism teaches that laughter is a powerful tool for maintaining perspective and coping with life's challenges. As we age, it's important to keep a sense of humor about the changes we experience, whether it's the quirks of aging or the unexpected twists and turns of life. By finding humor in our experiences, we can maintain our sense of joy and avoid becoming overwhelmed by the challenges of aging. Aging with dignity also means staying engaged with the world around us. Stoicism teaches that we are part of a larger whole, and that staying connected to that whole is essential for living a fulfilling life. As we age, it can be easy to withdraw from the world, especially as our roles and responsibilities change. However, Stoicism reminds us that staying engaged, whether through relationships, hobbies, or community involvement, keeps us connected to the world and helps us maintain our sense of purpose and dignity. Stoicism also teaches us the importance of humility in aging. As we grow older, it's important to recognize that we don't have all the answers and that we are still learning and growing. Humility allows us to accept the changes that come with aging without feeling diminished by them. By embracing humility, we can age with dignity, knowing that our worth is not determined by our knowledge or abilities, but by our character and our willingness to continue growing. Aging with dignity also means embracing the changes that come with aging rather than resisting them. Stoicism teaches that change is a natural part of life and that resisting change only leads to suffering. By accepting the changes that come with aging, whether they are physical, emotional, or social, we can maintain our sense of peace and dignity, knowing that these changes are simply part of the human experience. Finally, Stoicism teaches that aging with dignity is about living in alignment with our values. As we age, it's important to stay true to who we are, even as the world around us changes. By staying connected to our values and living in accordance with them, we can maintain our sense of self and continue to live with dignity and self-sufficiency, regardless of the challenges we face. This alignment with our values is what allows us to navigate the later years of life with grace, resilience, and a deep sense of inner peace. Aging with dignity and self-sufficiency, as Stoicism teaches, revolves around cultivating inner strength and maintaining a deep sense of personal responsibility. While external support can be beneficial, Stoicism reminds us that true resilience comes from within, not from relying too heavily on others. In particular, Stoics avoid clinging to family support in their later years, recognizing that such dependency can weaken their self-reliance and diminish their ability to navigate life's challenges with grace. As we transition into exploring this deeper aspect of Stoic philosophy, we uncover why Stoics choose independence over dependence on family, and how this mindset empowers them to face the later years with greater freedom and autonomy. Clinging to family support can create emotional burdens for both the person aging and their loved ones. Stoicism teaches that relationships should be built on mutual respect and understanding, not on dependency. When one relies too heavily on family, the dynamics often shift, creating feelings of obligation or resentment. Stoics value the natural flow of relationships, ensuring they remain unburdened by unnecessary expectations or demands, which helps maintain healthier connections. One of the central principles of Stoicism is the recognition that we cannot control others. When we cling to family support, we place our happiness and well-being in the hands of people whose actions are outside our control. This dependency can lead to disappointment or frustration when our family members cannot meet our needs, whether due to their own limitations or differing priorities. Stoicism teaches that true contentment comes from within, not from others, and by letting go of this dependence, we protect our emotional well-being from unnecessary turbulence. By avoiding reliance on family, Stoics ensure that their relationships remain voluntary rather than obligatory. When we become dependent on family, interactions can shift from moments of joy to responsibilities, which can place a strain on these bonds. Stoicism encourages relationships that are based on choice and mutual care, rather than necessity. By preserving their autonomy, Stoics allow family relationships to flourish naturally, free from the weight of expectations and pressure. Stoicism also highlights the importance of facing life's challenges directly without always turning to others for help. In the later years, physical or emotional challenges may arise, but Stoics believe that by leaning too heavily on family, we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow and develop resilience. Every challenge presents a chance to strengthen our inner resources, and relying on family to solve these problems may deprive us of these valuable lessons. Clinging to family support can also limit personal growth. Stoicism teaches that life is a continual process of learning and evolving. When we rely too much on others, particularly family, we risk stagnation, as we may become too comfortable or avoid confronting difficult aspects of aging. By maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that they continue to learn, adapt, and grow, even as they face the complexities of aging. One of the dangers of relying too much on family support is the potential for eroding personal dignity. Stoicism teaches that dignity comes from living in accordance with one's values and maintaining self-respect. By avoiding excessive dependence on family, Stoics preserve their sense of dignity, knowing that they are capable of managing their own lives. This sense of self-reliance fosters a deep pride in their ability to navigate the later years without compromising their principles. Another reason Stoics avoid clinging to family support is to prevent the imbalance of power that can occur in such relationships. When we depend on family members for care or financial assistance, we may inadvertently shift the balance of power in the relationship. Stoicism values equality and mutual respect in relationships, and by maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that their interactions with family members remain balanced and respectful, without creating unnecessary hierarchies. Stoics understand that family members have their own lives, responsibilities, and challenges. Clinging to family support can place undue pressure on loved ones, causing them stress or guilt if they are unable to meet our needs. Stoicism teaches empathy and the importance of considering the well-being of others. By maintaining self-reliance, Stoics reduce the emotional burden on their families and allow them the freedom to live their own lives without the added pressure of constant caregiving. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of gratitude in relationships. When we rely on family for support, it's easy to slip into a mindset of expectation rather than gratitude. However, by maintaining independence, Stoics approach the help they do receive from family with a deep sense of gratitude, knowing that it is given freely rather than out of obligation. This gratitude strengthens the bond between family members and fosters a more harmonious relationship. Stoics avoid clinging to family support because they value the freedom to make their own decisions. When we rely on others for support, especially in our later years, we may lose some of our autonomy. Family members may unintentionally influence or control aspects of our lives, such as where we live or how we manage our health. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from making choices that align with our own values and principles, and by avoiding reliance on family, Stoics preserve their ability to make independent decisions. Self-sufficiency is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Stoics believe that we should strive to be as self-sufficient as possible, even in old age. By relying on their own inner strength and resources, Stoics avoid the potential pitfalls of dependency on family. This self-sufficiency not only preserves their autonomy, but also strengthens their ability to face the challenges of aging with resilience and courage. Stoicism teaches that every individual is responsible for their own happiness and well-being. Clinging to family support can lead to a shift in this responsibility, where we expect others to provide for our happiness or solve our problems. Stoics reject this mindset, knowing that true contentment comes from within. By maintaining their independence, they take full responsibility for their own lives, ensuring that their happiness is not dependent on others. Another reason Stoics avoid clinging to family support is to prevent the development of entitlement. When we rely too heavily on family, we may begin to expect their help rather than appreciating it as a gift. Stoicism teaches that we should never take others for granted, and that we should approach all relationships with humility and gratitude. By maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that they remain grateful for the support they do receive and avoid falling into the trap of entitlement. Stoicism also teaches that we should not allow external circumstances to dictate our emotional state. Clinging to family support can lead to emotional dependence, where our happiness or peace of mind is tied to the actions of our family members. Stoics strive to cultivate inner peace that is independent of external factors. By avoiding reliance on family, they protect their emotional well-being from the unpredictability of others' actions or decisions. Family dynamics can change over time, and relying on family support can leave us vulnerable to these changes. Stoicism teaches that we should not place our trust in things that are outside of our control, and family relationships, as loving as they may be, are subject to change. Whether through geographical distance, personal conflicts, or the natural course of life, family support may not always be available. By cultivating self-reliance, Stoics prepare themselves for these changes and ensure that they can continue to live with dignity, even if family circumstances shift. Stoics avoid clinging to family support because they value the clarity that comes from self-reliance. When we depend on others, especially family, our judgment can become clouded by emotional ties or expectations. Stoicism teaches that clear thinking and rational decision-making are essential for living a virtuous life. By maintaining independence, Stoics preserve their ability to think clearly and make decisions that align with their values, without being influenced by the emotions or needs of others. Another reason Stoics avoid relying on family is that they believe in the power of solitude. Solitude allows us to connect with our inner selves, free from the distractions and demands of others. While family relationships are important, Stoics understand that solitude is necessary for personal growth and reflection. By maintaining independence from family, Stoics ensure that they have the space and time to cultivate this inner connection and continue their journey of self-improvement. Stoics also avoid clinging to family support because they recognize that life is full of uncertainties. Family members may not always be available or able to provide the support we need, and relying too heavily on them can leave us vulnerable when circumstances change. Stoicism teaches that we should be prepared for the unexpected and that self-reliance is the best way to navigate life's uncertainties. By maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that they are prepared to face whatever challenges may come their way without relying on others for support. Clinging to family support can also create feelings of guilt or inadequacy in both the person receiving the support and the family members providing it. Stoicism teaches that we should strive to live without causing harm or emotional distress to others. By avoiding excessive reliance on family, Stoics ensure that they do not place unnecessary burdens on their loved ones, and they avoid the feelings of guilt that often accompany dependency. Another reason Stoics avoid clinging to family support is to preserve the natural flow of life. Stoicism teaches that life is a series of changes and that resisting these changes only leads to suffering. By clinging to family support, we may inadvertently try to hold on to relationships or dynamics that are no longer in harmony with the natural course of life. Stoics accept the impermanence of relationships and the natural progression of life, allowing them to embrace change with grace and dignity. Stoics avoid relying on family because they believe in the importance of personal responsibility. Each individual is responsible for their own actions, decisions, and well-being. By clinging to family support, we may shift some of this responsibility onto others, which can undermine our sense of self-efficacy. Stoicism teaches that personal responsibility is key to living a virtuous life, and by maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that they remain fully accountable for their own lives. Self-reliance also fosters a sense of accomplishment and pride. Stoics believe that by facing life's challenges on our own terms, we build character and resilience. When we rely too heavily on family, we may miss out on the satisfaction that comes from overcoming obstacles through our own efforts. By maintaining independence, Stoics cultivate a sense of pride in their ability to navigate life's difficulties with strength and perseverance. Stoicism teaches that we should not become attached to external sources of support, including family. Attachment creates vulnerability as we become dependent on something that is ultimately beyond our control. By avoiding reliance on family, Stoics practice non-attachment, ensuring that their inner peace is not disrupted by changes in external circumstances. This non-attachment allows Stoics to maintain emotional stability and inner calm, even in the face of challenges. Family support can sometimes lead to a loss of personal freedom. When we rely on family, we may feel obligated to conform to their expectations or desires, which can limit our ability to live in accordance with our own values. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from living authentically and making choices that align with our principles. By maintaining independence, Stoics preserve their personal freedom and ensure that they can continue to live in alignment with their own values. Stoics avoid clinging to family support because they value the strength that comes from overcoming adversity on their own. When we face challenges without relying on others, we develop inner strength and resilience. Stoicism teaches that adversity is an opportunity for growth, and by maintaining independence, Stoics embrace these opportunities to strengthen their character and develop greater self-reliance. Another reason Stoics avoid relying on family is to protect their relationships from becoming transactional. When we depend on family for support, there is a risk that the relationship may become defined by what is given and received, rather than by genuine care and connection. Stoicism teaches that relationships should be based on mutual respect and love, not on dependency or obligation. By maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that their relationships with family remain rooted in authentic connection, rather than transactional exchanges. Stoicism also teaches that self-reliance is essential for cultivating a sense of inner peace. When we rely on others, especially family, we may experience anxiety or stress when things don't go as planned or when support is not available. By maintaining independence, Stoics avoid the emotional ups and downs that come with dependency, allowing them to cultivate a deeper sense of inner peace and tranquility. Stoics avoid clinging to family support because they believe in the importance of preparing for the future. Life is unpredictable, and family support may not always be available. Stoicism teaches that we should be prepared for whatever challenges may arise, and self-reliance is the best way to ensure that we are ready to face the future with confidence. By maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that they are prepared for the uncertainties of life without relying on others for support. Another reason Stoics avoid relying on family is that they believe in the value of self-reflection. Stoicism teaches that self-reflection is essential for personal growth and living a virtuous life. When we rely on family for support, we may become distracted by the needs and expectations of others, which can prevent us from engaging in meaningful self-reflection. By maintaining independence, Stoics create the space for self-reflection, allowing them to continue growing and evolving as individuals. Stoicism also teaches that we should not fear solitude. Many people rely on family for support because they fear being alone. However, Stoics embrace solitude as an opportunity for self-discovery and personal growth. By avoiding reliance on family, Stoics learn to find peace and fulfillment within themselves, rather than seeking it from external sources. Clinging to family support can also lead to a sense of helplessness. When we rely too heavily on others, we may begin to doubt our own abilities and lose confidence in our capacity to handle life's challenges. Stoicism teaches that we are capable of far more than we often realize, and by maintaining independence, Stoics cultivate a sense of self-confidence and empowerment. Finally, Stoics avoid clinging to family support because they believe in the importance of living with purpose. Stoicism teaches that a meaningful life is one that is lived in alignment with our values and principles. When we rely too heavily on family, we may become distracted from our true purpose as we become entangled in the needs and expectations of others. By maintaining independence, Stoics ensure that they can continue living with purpose and integrity even in the later years of life. Avoiding reliance on family support helps preserve dignity and independence, ensuring we maintain control over our own lives. But even deeper than dependency is the emotional weight of attachment. Stoicism teaches that while family relationships are important, excessive attachment to them can create barriers to inner peace, especially in old age. When we allow ourselves to become overly attached to our family, we risk losing the emotional stability that Stoicism so deeply values. In the next exploration, we will delve into why Stoic wisdom sees family attachment as a potential barrier to peace of mind, and how detachment leads to a more serene and fulfilled life. Attachment to family is natural, but when it becomes the foundation of our emotional well-being, we can lose sight of the Stoic principles of self-reliance and inner tranquility. Family ties, while filled with love and connection, can sometimes bring about expectations and desires that are beyond our control. Stoicism teaches that placing our emotional well-being in the hands of others leads to inevitable disappointment and frustration, especially as relationships shift and change over time. Excessive attachment to family can often lead to emotional turmoil when things don't unfold the way we hope. Whether it's a conflict, unmet expectations, or distance, family relationships are complex. Stoicism reminds us that our peace should not be dependent on the actions or decisions of others. When we become too emotionally invested in family dynamics, we open ourselves to the instability that comes from relying on external factors for our happiness. Stoicism encourages us to appreciate our family relationships while maintaining emotional detachment. This does not mean we stop caring for or loving our family members. Rather, it means we approach these relationships with the understanding that we cannot control how others behave or the outcomes of familial situations. Emotional detachment allows us to remain centered even when family conflicts or challenges arise, ensuring that our peace of mind remains intact regardless of external circumstances. Attachment to family often leads to expectations that others may not be able to meet. We may expect support, attention, or specific behaviors from family members, and when these expectations go unfulfilled, we can feel hurt or disappointed. Stoic wisdom teaches that by letting go of these expectations, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster that comes with relying on others for our happiness. Instead, we cultivate peace by focusing on what we can control, our own reactions and attitudes. One of the most powerful aspects of Stoic philosophy is its focus on acceptance. Family relationships, like all human connections, are subject to change. Children grow up and move on, siblings drift apart, and parents age and pass away. When we are overly attached to these relationships, we struggle to accept these changes, which can lead to emotional pain. Stoicism teaches us to accept the impermanence of all things, including family ties, and to find peace in this acceptance rather than resisting the inevitable. By cultivating emotional detachment, we can engage in family relationships with greater clarity and understanding. When we are overly attached, our judgment becomes clouded by our desires and fears. Stoicism teaches that detachment allows us to see relationships for what they truly are, without the distortion of emotional neediness. This clarity helps us navigate family dynamics with wisdom and compassion, without being pulled into unnecessary drama or conflict. Emotional attachment to family can also create a sense of entitlement, where we feel that we deserve certain things from our loved ones, be it time, attention, or support. Stoicism reminds us that no one owes us anything, and that expecting others to fulfill our emotional needs only sets us up for disappointment. By releasing this sense of entitlement, we free ourselves from the burden of unmet expectations and can approach family relationships with a spirit of gratitude rather than demand. Stoic wisdom teaches that true inner peace comes from within, not from external sources. When we are attached to our family, we often look to them for validation, comfort, or reassurance. This external reliance weakens our ability to find peace within ourselves. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate a sense of self that is independent of others, allowing us to find contentment regardless of the behavior or presence of family members. Detaching from family attachment also allows us to maintain healthier boundaries. When we are overly attached, we may find ourselves entangled in family members' problems, conflicts, or emotions. Stoicism teaches that while we can offer support and care, we must also recognize where our responsibility ends. By maintaining clear boundaries, we protect our own emotional well-being while still being present for our loved ones. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. Family dynamics are often complex and fraught with issues that are beyond our control. By becoming emotionally detached, we can focus on managing our own thoughts, actions, and responses, rather than trying to control or fix the actions of others. This shift in focus brings a sense of empowerment and peace, as we no longer waste energy on things outside our control. Another reason Stoics avoid excessive family attachment is to prevent the emotional pain that comes from loss. All relationships are impermanent, and the more attached we are, the more we suffer when those relationships change or end. Stoicism teaches that we should appreciate our family while recognizing the transience of life. By cultivating detachment, we prepare ourselves to face loss with grace and acceptance, knowing that our inner peace does not depend on the presence or behavior of others. Family attachment can also prevent us from living authentically. When we are overly concerned with pleasing or gaining approval from our family, we may sacrifice our own values, desires, or goals. Stoicism teaches that living in alignment with our own principles is essential for a fulfilled life. By detaching from the need for family approval, we free ourselves to live authentically, making decisions that reflect our true selves, rather than conforming to the expectations of others. Another aspect of family attachment is the pressure to fulfill certain roles within the family unit. Whether it's the role of caretaker, provider, or peacekeeper, these roles can become burdensome when we are too emotionally invested in maintaining them. Stoicism teaches that we are not defined by the roles we play for others, but by our character and our commitment to living virtuously. By releasing attachment to these roles, we free ourselves from unnecessary pressure and can approach our relationships with greater ease and flexibility. Stoicism also teaches that emotional attachment to family can cloud our ability to practice compassion. When we are too attached, we may become frustrated or resentful when family members do not meet our expectations. Detachment allows us to approach our loved ones with compassion and understanding, recognizing that they, too, are navigating their own challenges and struggles. This compassionate detachment helps us support our family without becoming emotionally enmeshed in their problems. By avoiding excessive attachment, Stoics can cultivate a sense of equanimity, even in the face of family conflict or tension. Family relationships are often filled with highs and lows, but Stoicism teaches us to remain steady in the midst of these fluctuations. Emotional detachment allows us to stay calm and centered, regardless of the external circumstances, and to approach conflicts with a clear mind and an open heart. One of the greatest gifts of Stoic detachment is the freedom it brings. When we are overly attached to family, we may feel trapped by obligations, expectations, or emotional dependencies. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from within, and by releasing attachment, we free ourselves to live life on our own terms. This freedom allows us to engage with our family in a more authentic and loving way, without being weighed down by the emotional baggage that attachment often brings. Detachment also helps us maintain perspective. Family relationships, while important, are just one aspect of life. When we are too attached, we may lose sight of the bigger picture and become overly focused on family dynamics. Stoicism encourages us to maintain a broader perspective, recognizing that our purpose and fulfillment come from living in accordance with our values and principles, not from the behavior or presence of others. Another reason Stoics avoid family attachment is to protect their peace of mind. When we are emotionally attached, we are vulnerable to the ups and downs of family life. Stoicism teaches that inner peace comes from maintaining a steady mind, regardless of external circumstances. By detaching from family attachment, we protect our peace of mind and ensure that we remain grounded and centered, even when family life becomes chaotic or challenging. Stoicism also teaches that emotional attachment can lead to resentment, especially when family members do not meet our needs or expectations. When we are too attached, we may feel disappointed or hurt when our loved ones fail to behave in the way we want. Detachment allows us to release these expectations and approach our relationships with acceptance, knowing that we cannot control how others act. This acceptance prevents resentment from taking root and allows us to engage with our family from a place of love and understanding. Detaching from family attachment also helps us maintain our emotional independence. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own emotions and that we should not rely on others to make us happy or fulfilled. By avoiding emotional dependence on family, we cultivate a sense of inner strength and autonomy, knowing that our well-being is in our own hands. This emotional independence allows us to engage with our family from a place of generosity rather than need. Family attachment can also create a sense of obligation that may lead to burnout or exhaustion. When we are too emotionally invested in our family, we may feel obligated to meet their needs or solve their problems, even at the expense of our own well-being. Stoicism teaches that we must take care of ourselves first, ensuring that we have the emotional and physical resources to support others without depleting ourselves. By maintaining detachment, we protect our energy and ensure that we can offer help from a place of strength rather than obligation. Stoics also avoid family attachment to prevent becoming enmeshed in family drama. Family relationships can sometimes be fraught with conflict, misunderstandings, or emotional entanglements. Stoicism teaches that we should avoid getting caught up in these dramas, as they distract us from our pursuit of inner peace and virtuous living. By detaching from the emotional intensity of family dynamics, we can remain calm and focused on what truly matters, rather than being pulled into unnecessary conflict. Detachment from family attachment allows us to approach our relationships with greater flexibility. When we are too attached, we may become rigid in our expectations or desires for how family relationships should be. Stoicism teaches that flexibility is key to living a peaceful life, as it allows us to adapt to the changing nature of relationships and circumstances. By remaining emotionally detached, we can engage with our family in a more open and adaptable way, allowing our relationships to evolve naturally. Another reason Stoics avoid family attachment is to preserve their sense of self. When we are too emotionally invested in our family, we may lose sight of our own needs, desires, or values. Stoicism teaches that our sense of self comes from living in alignment with our principles, not from our relationships with others. By maintaining detachment, we protect our sense of self and ensure that we continue to live authentically, even in the context of family relationships. Stoicism also teaches that detachment allows us to practice forgiveness more easily. When we are too attached to family, we may hold on to grudges or feel hurt by past actions. Detachment allows us to release these emotional wounds and approach our relationships with forgiveness and understanding. This forgiveness not only heals our relationships, but also frees us from the emotional weight of holding on to resentment. Detaching from family attachment also helps us avoid the trap of codependency. When we are too emotionally invested in our family, we may develop codependent relationships, where our sense of worth or happiness is tied to the actions or behaviors of others. Stoicism teaches that true happiness comes from within, and by maintaining emotional independence, we protect ourselves from falling into codependent patterns. Stoic detachment also allows us to focus on the present moment. When we are overly attached to family, we may become preoccupied with past hurts or future worries. Stoicism teaches that the present moment is all we truly have, and by detaching from emotional attachments, we free ourselves to fully engage with the present. This focus on the present allows us to enjoy our family relationships more deeply, without being weighed down by past or future concerns. Another reason Stoics avoid family attachment is to cultivate a sense of gratitude. When we are too attached, we may take our family for granted or focus on what we lack in the relationship. Detachment allows us to approach our family with a sense of appreciation for what they bring to our lives, without clinging to expectations or demands. This gratitude strengthens our relationships and fosters a deeper sense of connection. Stoicism teaches that emotional attachment can create a sense of fear, particularly the fear of losing loved ones or the fear of relationships changing. By detaching from these attachments, we release the grip of fear and approach our relationships with greater acceptance and peace. Stoics understand that change is inevitable, and by accepting this truth, they free themselves from the anxiety that comes with trying to hold on to relationships as they are. Finally, detachment allows us to approach our family relationships with a spirit of generosity rather than neediness. When we are too attached, we may approach our relationships from a place of emotional need, seeking validation, support, or comfort. Stoicism teaches that true generosity comes from giving without expectation. By detaching from emotional dependence, we can offer our love, support, and care to our family without expecting anything in return, creating relationships that are rooted in genuine connection and mutual respect. Detaching from family attachment allows us to approach relationships with a spirit of generosity and peace, unburdened by the emotional weight of expectations. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from within, and this is especially important as we age. By releasing the need for emotional dependence, we gain clarity and inner strength. Now, we move into a deeper understanding of this freedom, how Stoicism teaches us to face aging without expecting anything from others. This philosophy is not about isolation, but about cultivating a mindset that grants independence and resilience in the face of life's inevitable changes. Stoicism encourages us to look inward for the strength we need to face aging. Expecting anything from others, whether it's emotional support, financial help, or companionship, places our well-being in the hands of those we cannot control. By letting go of these expectations, we ensure that our happiness and peace of mind remain in our own control, allowing us to navigate the challenges of aging with dignity and self-assurance. As we grow older, it's natural to experience changes in our abilities, health, and social circles. Stoicism teaches that these changes are inevitable, but our reactions to them are fully within our control. Expecting others to cushion the difficulties of aging only leads to disappointment and frustration when those expectations go unmet. By learning to face these changes without relying on others, we cultivate a mindset of acceptance and resilience, enabling us to handle aging on our own terms. One of the greatest challenges of aging is the feeling of losing independence, but Stoicism offers a way to reclaim it. When we expect less from others, we naturally begin to expect more from ourselves. This shift empowers us to take responsibility for our own lives, even as circumstances become more difficult. Rather than waiting for others to step in and provide assistance, we develop the mindset that we are capable of managing our lives as fully as possible, regardless of external help. Stoicism teaches us to prepare for the worst without fearing it. In the context of aging, this means accepting the possibility that we may not always have the support we wish for and learning to be at peace with that reality. By not expecting others to step in when difficulties arise, we develop the inner strength to face those difficulties head-on. This doesn't mean rejecting help when it's offered, but rather cultivating the mindset that we are capable of facing challenges independently should the need arise. Another important aspect of facing aging without expecting anything from others is the sense of freedom it brings. When we let go of the need for others to provide for us, emotionally, financially, or physically, we free ourselves from the burden of unmet expectations. Stoicism teaches that true freedom comes from within, and by relying on ourselves rather than others, we can live with a greater sense of autonomy and peace, even as we age. Expectations often lead to disappointment, especially when they are placed on others. Family members, friends, or caregivers may not always be able to meet the expectations we place on them, whether due to their own limitations or changing circumstances. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control the actions of others, and by releasing these expectations, we protect ourselves from the emotional pain that comes with unmet hopes. This mindset allows us to face aging with greater emotional resilience and fewer disappointments. Facing aging without expecting anything from others also fosters a sense of self-reliance. Stoicism encourages us to cultivate the belief that we have everything we need within ourselves to face life's challenges. This doesn't mean rejecting help or community, but rather knowing that our inner resources are enough to sustain us. This self-reliance strengthens our ability to face aging with confidence and grace, as we know we are capable of handling whatever comes our way. Stoic philosophy teaches that our happiness should not be dependent on external factors. As we age, it's easy to fall into the trap of expecting others to provide us with joy, comfort, or companionship. However, Stoicism reminds us that true contentment comes from within, not from what others can give us. By releasing these expectations, we take full responsibility for our own happiness, ensuring that it is not contingent on the actions or presence of others. Aging without expecting anything from others allows us to approach relationships with greater freedom and authenticity. When we stop expecting others to meet our needs, we can engage with them on more equal terms, free from the weight of dependence. Stoicism teaches that relationships are most fulfilling when they are built on mutual respect and care, rather than on unspoken demands or expectations. By letting go of these expectations, we create space for more genuine connections. Stoicism encourages us to embrace the impermanence of life And this is particularly important as we age. Family, friends, and loved ones may not always be able to be there for us in the ways we expect or desire. Rather than clinging to the idea that they should provide for us, Stoicism teaches us to accept the natural ebb and flow of relationships. This acceptance allows us to face aging with a calm mind, knowing that while relationships may change, our inner peace remains constant. Expecting others to take care of us as we age can also create a sense of entitlement, which Stoicism warns against. When we believe that others owe us something, whether it's care, attention, or support, we set ourselves up for disappointment and resentment. Stoicism teaches that no one owes us anything, and by releasing this sense of entitlement, we cultivate a mindset of gratitude for whatever support we do receive, rather than feeling frustrated by what we lack. Aging without expectations also fosters resilience. Stoicism teaches that adversity is a natural part of life, and that facing challenges head-on builds character and strength. When we stop expecting others to make our aging process easier, we develop the inner resilience needed to handle whatever difficulties arise. This resilience allows us to approach aging with a sense of empowerment, knowing that we have the strength to endure and thrive no matter the circumstances. One of the key lessons of Stoicism is to focus on what we can control. In the context of aging, this means letting go of the idea that others should take care of us or meet our needs. Instead, we focus on what we can do for ourselves, whether that's maintaining our health, managing our emotions, or cultivating inner peace. By shifting our focus to what we can control, we reclaim our power and avoid the frustration that comes from unmet expectations. Expecting nothing from others also allows us to face aging with greater humility. Stoicism teaches that we are not entitled to anything, and by adopting this humble mindset, we can approach the later years of life with grace and gratitude. Rather than feeling disappointed by what we don't receive, we become more appreciative of the moments of support and kindness that do come our way. This humility fosters a deep sense of contentment, regardless of the level of external assistance we may or may not receive. Facing aging without expecting anything from others also helps us avoid the emotional roller coaster that often accompanies dependency. When we rely on others to meet our needs, we become vulnerable to their actions, moods, and availability. Stoicism teaches that our emotional stability should not be tied to external factors, and by releasing these expectations, we maintain a steady mind, free from the highs and lows that come with dependence on others. When we stop expecting others to provide for us, we become more proactive in taking care of ourselves. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own lives, and this responsibility becomes even more important as we age, whether it's maintaining our health, managing our finances, or cultivating emotional well-being. Facing aging without expectations encourages us to take action in our own lives, rather than waiting for others to step in. Aging without expecting anything from others also allows us to cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude. When we stop expecting others to meet our needs, we become more appreciative of the help and support we do receive. Stoicism teaches that gratitude is key to a happy life, and by approaching aging with this mindset, we ensure that we remain focused on the positives rather than dwelling on what we lack. Stoic philosophy reminds us that life is unpredictable, and this is especially true as we age. By not expecting anything from others, we prepare ourselves for the inevitable uncertainties that come with growing older, whether it's changes in health, relationships, or living situations. Stoicism teaches that by releasing expectations, we remain flexible and adaptable, ready to face whatever comes our way with resilience and grace. One of the greatest benefits of facing aging without expectations is the sense of inner peace it brings. When we release the need for others to provide for us, we free ourselves from the emotional burden of disappointment and frustration. Stoicism teaches that inner peace comes from accepting life as it is, rather than wishing it were different. By embracing this mindset, we approach aging with a calm and steady heart, knowing that our well-being is not dependent on the actions of others. Aging without expecting anything from others also helps us maintain a sense of dignity. Stoicism teaches that dignity comes from living in accordance with our values, not from how others treat us. By releasing the expectation that others should care for us or meet our needs, we maintain our sense of dignity, knowing that we are capable of managing our own lives. This self-respect allows us to age with grace and confidence, regardless of external circumstances. Facing aging without expectations also helps us avoid the feelings of resentment that often accompany dependency. When we expect others to meet our needs, we may feel frustrated or hurt when they don't live up to our expectations. Stoicism teaches that resentment only harms our own peace of mind, and by releasing expectations, we protect ourselves from these negative emotions. This mindset allows us to approach our relationships with love and understanding, rather than frustration or disappointment. Another important aspect of facing aging without expecting anything from others is the freedom it brings in our relationships. When we stop expecting others to provide for us, we engage with them on more equal terms, free from the weight of dependence. Stoicism teaches that relationships are most fulfilling when they are based on mutual respect and care, rather than on unspoken demands or expectations. By letting go of these expectations, we create space for more genuine connections. Stoicism teaches us that facing aging without expecting anything from others is a path to greater resilience. When we stop relying on external sources of support, we turn inward and discover the strength that lies within. This inner resilience allows us to face the challenges of aging with confidence, knowing that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way, even if we must do so on our own. Another reason Stoics advocate for facing aging without expectations is the preservation of emotional stability. Expecting others to take care of us creates emotional dependence, which can lead to instability when those expectations go unmet. Stoicism reminds us that our emotional well-being should not be tied to the actions or presence of others. By letting go of expectations, we protect our emotional health and maintain a steady, peaceful mind, regardless of external circumstances. Aging without expecting anything from others also allows us to focus on personal growth. Stoicism teaches that life is a continual process of learning and growth, even in our later years. When we stop expecting others to meet our needs, we take responsibility for our own growth and development, ensuring that we continue to evolve as individuals, regardless of external support. Stoicism also teaches that facing aging without expectations allows us to approach life with a sense of curiosity and wonder. When we release the need for others to provide for us, we open ourselves up to new experiences and possibilities. This mindset fosters a sense of adventure, even in the later years of life, as we approach each day with an open heart and mind, ready to embrace whatever comes our way. Aging without expectations also fosters a sense of humility. Stoicism teaches that we are not entitled to anything, and by adopting this humble mindset, we approach life with gratitude rather than demand. This humility allows us to appreciate the moments of support and kindness that do come our way, without feeling frustrated by what we don't receive. This mindset fosters a deep sense of contentment, regardless of the level of external assistance we may or may not receive. Facing aging without expecting anything from others also helps us avoid the emotional pain that often accompanies loss. As we age, relationships may change, and loved ones may pass away. By not expecting others to meet our needs, we prepare ourselves for the natural changes in relationships and life circumstances. This preparation allows us to face loss with grace and acceptance, knowing that our inner peace does not depend on the presence or behavior of others. Another benefit of facing aging without expectations is the sense of empowerment it brings. Stoicism teaches that we are responsible for our own lives and well-being. When we stop expecting others to take care of us, we take full responsibility for our own happiness and fulfillment. This empowerment fosters a sense of autonomy and self-confidence, allowing us to navigate the later years of life with strength and independence. Aging without expecting anything from others also fosters a sense of inner peace. Stoicism teaches that true peace comes from within, not from external sources. By letting go of the need for others to provide for us, we cultivate a sense of calm and contentment that is independent of external circumstances. This inner peace allows us to face the challenges of aging with grace and resilience, knowing that our well-being is fully within our own control. Finally, Stoicism teaches that facing aging without expectations allows us to live with greater authenticity. When we stop relying on others to meet our needs, we are free to live in accordance with our own values and principles. This authenticity fosters a sense of fulfillment and joy as we live true to ourselves, regardless of the actions or presence of others. This freedom to live authentically is one of the greatest gifts of Stoic philosophy, allowing us to face aging with dignity, strength, and inner peace. Facing aging without expectations gives us the freedom to live authentically, without relying on others for our happiness or sense of purpose. In this state of inner peace, we also find a deeper strength that comes from self-reliance. Stoicism teaches that this strength is not derived from external sources, such as our children or family, but from cultivating resilience within ourselves. As we now explore how Stoic detachment helps us find strength without relying on our children, we discover that true independence and empowerment come from within, allowing us to navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and confidence. Detachment is often misunderstood as coldness or indifference, but in Stoicism, it represents emotional freedom. By detaching from the expectation that our children should be our primary source of support as we age, we free ourselves from the potential disappointment or frustration that arises when those expectations go unmet. This detachment allows us to build an inner reserve of strength that is not contingent on the actions of others. Relying on our children to provide for us, whether emotionally or physically, places undue pressure on both sides of the relationship. Stoic detachment teaches us that love and connection do not require dependence. In fact, relationships can flourish when they are free from the weight of expectation. By releasing the belief that our children are responsible for our well-being, we foster a healthier, more balanced relationship built on mutual respect rather than obligation. Stoic detachment also allows us to take full responsibility for our own lives. When we expect our children to solve our problems or meet our needs, we relinquish control over our own lives. This dependence can erode our sense of autonomy and personal power. By practicing detachment, we reclaim responsibility for our decisions, actions, and emotional well-being, ensuring that our strength comes from within rather than from external sources. By not relying on our children, we develop resilience in the face of life's challenges. Stoicism teaches that adversity is an opportunity for growth, and by facing difficulties on our own terms, we cultivate inner strength. When we rely on others, we may miss out on the lessons that come from overcoming obstacles independently. Stoic detachment helps us embrace these challenges with confidence, knowing that we have the capacity to navigate them without needing others to step in. One of the most powerful aspects of Stoic detachment is the peace of mind it brings. When we are overly attached to the idea that our children should provide for us, we often experience anxiety or stress when things don't go as planned. Detachment removes this emotional burden, allowing us to approach life's uncertainties with a calm and steady mind. By finding strength within ourselves, we protect our emotional well-being from the ups and downs of relying on others. Detachment also fosters a sense of independence. Stoicism teaches that self-reliance is key to living a fulfilled life, and this is especially true as we age. When we detach from the expectation that our children will always be there to support us, we begin to seek out ways to maintain our independence, whether that's through cultivating new skills, managing our own finances, or finding ways to stay physically active. This independence strengthens our sense of self and allows us to face aging with confidence. When we rely too much on our children, we may inadvertently limit their ability to live their own lives freely. Stoic detachment not only benefits us, but also benefits our children by allowing them to pursue their own paths without feeling obligated to meet our needs. This creates a more balanced relationship where both parties can thrive independently without the emotional weight of dependency. Stoicism also teaches that true strength comes from within, not from external sources. When we rely on our children for strength, we are placing our well-being in their hands, which can be a fragile foundation. By cultivating inner strength through stoic detachment, we ensure that our resilience is unshakable, regardless of external circumstances. This inner strength empowers us to face whatever challenges arise, knowing that we are capable of handling them on our own. Detachment helps us avoid the emotional pain that often comes with unmet expectations. When we expect our children to provide for us, we may feel hurt or disappointed when they are unable or unwilling to meet those expectations. Stoicism teaches that these emotional responses stem from misplaced reliance on others. By detaching from these expectations, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of disappointment and cultivate a more stable sense of peace. One of the most liberating aspects of Stoic detachment is the sense of freedom it brings to our relationships. When we are not reliant on our children for support, we can engage with them from a place of genuine love and connection, rather than from need or obligation. This allows our relationships to flourish, as they are based on mutual respect and care, rather than on unspoken expectations or demands. Detachment also allows us to set healthy boundaries in our relationships with our children. When we are overly attached to the idea that our children should provide for us, we may blur the lines between our own needs and theirs. Stoicism teaches that boundaries are essential for maintaining emotional well-being and preserving the integrity of relationships. By practicing detachment, we create space for ourselves and our children to live independently without overstepping each other's emotional or physical boundaries. When we rely on our children for strength, we may inadvertently weaken our own capacity for resilience. Stoicism teaches that challenges are an opportunity for growth, and by facing them independently, we develop the inner resources needed to handle future difficulties. By detaching from the expectation that our children will always be there to support us, we strengthen our ability to navigate life's challenges with confidence and self-assurance. Detachment also fosters a sense of gratitude. When we stop expecting our children to provide for us, we become more appreciative of the support and love they do offer. Stoicism teaches that gratitude is a key to happiness, and by approaching our relationships with this mindset, we create a deeper sense of connection and appreciation for the moments of care and kindness we receive. Relying on our children can also create a sense of entitlement, where we believe that they owe us something. Stoicism warns against this mindset, as it leads to frustration and resentment when our expectations are not met. Detachment helps us release this sense of entitlement and approach our relationships with humility and gratitude, rather than with demands or expectations. Detachment from reliance on our children allows us to live with greater flexibility. Life is unpredictable, and our children may not always be able to provide the support we expect. Stoicism teaches that by letting go of rigid expectations, we can adapt more easily to changing circumstances. This flexibility allows us to navigate the uncertainties of aging with greater ease, knowing that we can rely on ourselves to handle whatever comes our way. Another reason Stoic detachment is important is that it helps us avoid the emotional burden of guilt. When we rely too much on our children, we may feel guilty for placing demands on their time or resources. This guilt can create emotional tension in the relationship. By practicing detachment, we free ourselves and our children from this emotional weight, allowing for a more harmonious and balanced connection. Detachment also allows us to maintain a sense of dignity as we age. When we rely on others, particularly our children, for support, we may feel a sense of loss of control over our own lives. Stoicism teaches that dignity comes from self-reliance and living in accordance with our values. By detaching from the need for external support, we preserve our dignity and continue to live with a sense of purpose and autonomy. Stoic detachment also helps us cultivate a mindset of acceptance. As we age, we may experience changes in our physical or emotional capacities that require us to seek help. However, by practicing detachment, we approach these changes with acceptance rather than resistance. This mindset allows us to accept help when needed without feeling dependent on it, knowing that our inner strength remains intact. When we detach from the expectation that our children will always be there for us, we also cultivate a deeper sense of resilience. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes from within, and by relying on our own inner resources, we develop the resilience needed to face life's challenges. This resilience allows us to navigate aging with confidence, knowing that we are capable of handling difficulties independently, even if external support is not always available. Detachment from reliance on our children also fosters emotional independence. Stoicism teaches that our happiness and well-being should not be dependent on external sources. By detaching from the need for emotional support from our children, we cultivate a sense of inner peace and contentment that is not tied to the actions or presence of others. This emotional independence allows us to live with greater freedom and joy. One of the key lessons of Stoicism is to focus on what we can control. When we rely on our children, we place our well-being in their hands, which can lead to frustration when things don't go as planned. Detachment helps us shift our focus back to what we can control, our own thoughts, actions, and responses. This shift empowers us to take full responsibility for our lives, ensuring that our strength comes from within, not from external sources. Detachment also helps us avoid the emotional pain that often comes with dependency. When we rely on our children for support, we may feel hurt or disappointed when they are unable to meet our needs. Stoicism teaches that these emotional responses stem from misplaced expectations. By detaching from these expectations, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of dependency and cultivate a more stable sense of peace. Relying on our children can also limit their ability to live their own lives freely. Stoic detachment not only benefits us, but also benefits our children by allowing them to pursue their own paths without feeling obligated to meet our needs. This creates a more balanced relationship where both parties can thrive independently without the emotional weight of dependency. Stoicism also teaches that true strength comes from within, not from external sources. When we rely on our children for strength, we are placing our well-being in their hands, which can be a fragile foundation. By cultivating inner strength through Stoic detachment, we ensure that our resilience is unshakable, regardless of external circumstances. This inner strength empowers us to face whatever challenges arise, knowing that we are capable of handling them on our own. Detachment helps us avoid the emotional pain that often comes with unmet expectations. When we expect our children to provide for us, we may feel hurt or disappointed when they are unable or unwilling to meet those expectations. Stoicism teaches that these emotional responses stem from misplaced reliance on others. By detaching from these expectations, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of disappointment and cultivate a more stable sense of peace. One of the most liberating aspects of Stoic detachment is the sense of freedom it brings to our relationships. When we are not reliant on our children for support, we can engage with them from a place of genuine love and connection rather than from need or obligation. This allows our relationships to flourish, as they are based on mutual respect and care, rather than on unspoken expectations or demands. Stoic detachment also allows us to set healthy boundaries in our relationships with our children. When we are overly attached to the idea that our children should provide for us, we may blur the lines between our own needs and theirs. Stoicism teaches that boundaries are essential for maintaining emotional well-being and preserving the integrity of relationships. By practicing detachment, we create space for ourselves and our children to live independently without overstepping each other's emotional or physical boundaries. When we rely on our children for strength, we may inadvertently weaken our own capacity for resilience. Stoicism teaches that challenges are an opportunity for growth, and by facing them independently, we develop the inner resources needed to handle future difficulties. By detaching from the expectation that our children will always be there to support us, we strengthen our ability to navigate life's challenges with confidence and self-assurance. Detachment also fosters a sense of gratitude. When we stop expecting our children to provide for us, we become more appreciative of the support and love they do offer. Stoicism teaches that gratitude is a key to happiness, and by approaching our relationships with this mindset, we create a deeper sense of connection and appreciation for the moments of care and kindness we receive. Relying on our children can also create a sense of entitlement, where we believe that they owe us something. Stoicism warns against this mindset, as it leads to frustration and resentment when our expectations are not met. Detachment helps us release this sense of entitlement and approach our relationships with humility and gratitude, rather than with demands or expectations. As we've explored through the lens of Stoicism, relying too heavily on living close to your children in old age can diminish the independence and inner strength that Stoic philosophy encourages. The path to true freedom, dignity, and peace lies within us, not in external sources of support. Stoicism teaches that by embracing solitude, detachment, and self-reliance, we not only prepare ourselves for the inevitable changes that come with aging, but we also cultivate a deeper sense of fulfillment and inner tranquility. By releasing expectations, we open the door to more meaningful relationships and a life lived on our own terms. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you feel about the idea of embracing independence in your later years? Have you experienced moments where relying less on others led to unexpected strength? Share your stories and thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences may resonate with someone else on the same path. If this discussion on Stoicism resonates with you and you're looking for more insights on leading a life of strength and wisdom, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we dive into more life-changing ideas rooted in Stoic wisdom.